Es Well, no, I don't think officially. Not officially. So you hiked over in the snow,
I
huh?
did, yeah, got my little boots on. Ian, is there enough of us? Are we expecting anyone else?
No,
Joe?
I've not, John officially resigned.
Oh.
And he resigned on Monday. And then I've not heard anything from Joe. I know is coming because he's asked me a couple questions. And then Karen is snowed in, is she on?
She has logged in, yes.
Okay. And here comes Joe.
John was in.
Yeah,
Right,
she's
time,
snowed
sir.
in.
Just in time.
In time.
Just in time.
There's nothing to be discussed.
I'm sad. This is such a great group.
Yes. And we took like the whole group in a year.
I know.
What are you doing?
Nothing.
Okay. And with that, I will call the planning commission to order at 6 p.m. Welcome to the March 14th meeting of the Town of Berthoud Planning Commission. It is the tradition of the planning commission to start our hearings with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'm Abigail Smith, the acting chair for tonight of the Planning Commission. Our current chair is unavailable this evening, so I'd like to thank you for being with us tonight. Copies of tonight's agenda are on the table in front. Please take one and please mute your cell phones at this time. The members of the Planning Commission are volunteers. Our duty is to review application materials provided, hear public testimony, hear from the applicant, and then discuss the matters before us as they comply with the land use code review procedures. I have some brief comments about the role of the Planning Commission for the audience, both those who are here and those watching via Zoom. The Planning Commission acts as an advisory board to the Town Board of Trustees. We review and make recommendations on land use issues within the town of Berthoud. Some decisions regarding preliminary plats and conditional use permits, for example, are heard by both the Town Board and the Planning Commission. Some decisions, such as final plats, rest with the Planning Commission. We have staff in attendance tonight to provide us with the presentations of the agenda items, answer our questions, and to work with the Planning Commission regarding the criteria for approval as outlined in the municipal code. We also gain insight from the information and viewpoints you provide. Your input is welcomed and appreciated. We are here to listen to and carefully consider all relevant information and items for public hearing listed on the agenda. If you wish to speak tonight, you will be recognized by me. When you come to the lectern, please provide us with your name and spell any uncommon names so the record will accurately reflect your comments and your address. We ask that you keep your comments relevant to the land use matter being discussed, and we ask that you direct your comments to the members of the Planning Commission. Each person who comes to speak will have 3 minutes. We understand that issues before us tonight are important to those involved and feelings and emotions may run high. We ask that you respectfully listen to everyone's presentations. You may or may not agree with them, but please do not interrupt with applause or other kinds of demonstrations. Please direct your comments to the Planning Commission, not the applicants or other speakers. Okay. Going past that. I think the first item on our agenda is the roll call. Would you mind to start the roll, please?
Chairperson Anderson, she is online. Vice Chair Smith.
Here.
Commissioner Wing.
Here.
Commissioner Semidallis.
Here.
Commissioner Donnelly.
Here.
And Commissioner Hoffman's.
Here.
Okay. Thank you very much. The next item on our agenda is the approval of the minutes for the February 8th, 2024 meeting. Does anyone have anything they wish to amend with the minutes?
Motion to accept the minutes?
Okay. We have a motion.
Second.
second?
Commissioner Hoffmans.
Yes.
Votes, sorry. Commissioner Donnelly,
Yes.
Commissioner Zimmerdalas.
Yes.
Commissioner Wing,
Yes.
Vice Chair Smith,
Yes.
Chairperson Anderson.
Yes. Thank you. Okay, tonight we have one item to be heard. Staff will introduce this item followed by a staff presentation. The applicant will then make their presentation. After the applicant's presentation, the public hearing will be open, and if you have signed up to speak, you may do so at that time. Your name will be called. Ann Best Johnson, Community Development Director, will now introduce the first item on the public hearing agenda, the public hearing to reconsider a request for a final plat known as West Side Crossing.
Good evening, Chair Smith or Vice Chair Smith and members of the Planning Commission. This evening, we are going to be talking about subdivision. And like other land use matters that come before you, this is a three or four step process. And so to just go over this process with you, you are familiar with this, but members of the audience may not be familiar with this process. The first stage are the pre-application discussions. This is when the applicant comes forth to the town. We talk with about grading and drainage, traffic, water, sewer, other utilities, as well as design standards that need to be met to do development in the town of Berthoud. Once the applicant has made a commitment to move forward with their proposal in the town, then they submit an application. Then after that application is submitted, staff reviews it for completeness and then sends it out to referral agencies. So CDOT, again, water, sewer, utilities, other agencies that will be impacted by the development get an opportunity to review. They're called referral agencies, and then they provide us with comments, and those comments that are incorporated into our reports, we send those back to the applicant, and they need to then address those comments. Once we feel as if an application is ready to bring before you, then surrounding property owners are notified of the hearing, a sign is posted on the property, and the hearing is noticed in the newspaper as well. So then tonight, we're at the public meeting, which is step 3. The staff will set the record on what the application is, what the process is, and then the applicant will give a presentation. After the applicant provides their presentation, then the chair will open the meeting for public comment, and that's called the public hearing portion. After the public has had an opportunity to make a comment, the public hearing will be officially closed, and the applicant has an opportunity to come up and provide information that the public said about the application. Maybe they can clarify a few things. And then after that moment in time, then the applicant will go back to their seat, and you all then will deliberate the application. And you can make your decision based on the testimony that's provided, the information that's provided in your packets, and information that's provided by the applicant this evening. So then after you make your action tonight, depending on what that action is, then if there are conditions of approval that need to be met, documents to be executed, then all of those things happen after the hearing. So again, during the public hearing tonight, staff gives a presentation, the applicant gives their presentation, public hearing and discussion and vote. Chair Smith this evening went over some of the standards and what her expectations are for the hearing this evening and the level of decorum that she wants to see in the hearing. So at that moment in time, I'm going to turn the presentation over to Lauren Richardson. Lauren works for Baseline Engineering, and they have been a tremendous help to the town during this time when we didn't have a full staff. And so Lauren is going to present the staff report to you and present findings that are in your staff report in your packet. So are there any questions about process before I go sit down and Lauren comes up and gives you all the details?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Anne. All right, good evening, commissioners. As Anne mentioned, my name is Lauren Richardson, and I'll be presenting West Side Crossing replat number 2 final plat. So with this slide, the applicant, oh no, okay. The applicant is here tonight, Scott Carpentier, and he has a presentation, as Anne mentioned. The location of the site that we're gonna talk about tonight is on the northeast corner of Mountain Avenue and Highway 287. The current zoning is C2, which is commercial. The size is 11.901 acres, and the applicant's request is to approve their final plat. I should mention, just like Anne said earlier, that the public notice requirements were met. A legal ad was published on the 15th of February. In addition, the application was sent out to all the property owners within 500 feet. And the applicant, I believe, posted 2 signs on the property. All right, so this is a snapshot of the proposed final plat. So as you can see, it shows 7 lots, and I wanna apologize because the labels of the streets are wrong. They need to be flipped over. So the bottom is Mountain Avenue and the left side is 287. I apologize. Yes, so a little background on this site. The neighborhood master plan and rezone was approved in April of 2021. And the preliminary plat was approved in March of 2022. So we're at the final plat stage. The proposed lots, if approved, would be sold to individual lot owners. The development on the individual lots will require a site plan or a use by special review permit. Okay, so the surrounding zoning is shown here. The site has R4, single family / multifamily to the north. And to the south, we've got C2. And then to either side, we've got PUD. All right. The future land use map, in the comp plan, the site is identified as suburban business and is within the Mountain Avenue Overlay District, meaning they'll have to follow both of those guidelines and guidance. All right, so the final plat criteria, why we are all here. Section 30-6-108.c is where the final plat criteria is located in the municipal code. So I won't read verbatim from this because it is listed right there. But summarize, the first criteria requires substantial conformance to the preliminary plat. And staff found that the proposed final plat does satisfy this requirement. And the final plat does not propose any land use changes to the final plat. The second, the development complies with this code, the comp plan, and the port plan. Staff finds that the proposed plan does comply with these plans. The future land use plan identifies this area as future suburban business, which is envisioned as a vibrant, walkable commercial district that includes preferred land uses such as restaurants, retail, offices. The importance of pedestrian connectivity has been satisfied with the detached sidewalks, tree lawns, and the regional trail connection. The third, all applicable technical standards, including the provision of water in sufficient amount and quantity, have been met. And yes, the plans were reviewed by town staff, including engineering, as well as outside referral agencies, as Anne mentioned, with no concerns. Okay, so this is a slide that is sort of responding to a request made by the Planning Commission back for the preliminary plat. And these are some of the findings that have been used to incorporate into the final plat design. So in summary, they found that the traffic generation for the commercial areas, 9,189 trips per day. the pedestrian signal will be installed at Meadowlark and Mountain Avenue. And crosswalks will be installed on all four intersections. And a right in, right out will be installed between lots 1 and 2 of the commercial areas. So that's the dark area in that little picture, if you can see. All right. So this application did include a landscape plan. This snapshot is an overall look at the landscape plan. It does show tree lawn and sidewalk. The common area of the landscape within the private development shall be installed, irrigated and maintained by individual lot owners. And the final location of the trees is subject to change based on the drive entrance locations, and individual lot and easement requirements. Okay. So staff recommends to Planning Commission make a motion to recommend approval of the final plat to the Board of Trustees. Recommend approval of the final plat with the following conditions of approval and development standards. And I do have a copy of these. Shall I read these out?
I think you need to read them, but
Yeah, I
that
was-
would be the chair's
It's like 3
decision.
pages.
No, I don't think that you should read each point, thank you. Is there a way you could give us kind of like high level
Absolutely.
points of the
Absolutely.
categories? Thank you.
Yes, so we have several sections, one for prior to recording the plat. And all of these things are really just to make sure that everything gets up, as Ann says, everything's buttoned up nice. And you know, we know who's responsible for what. Let's see. So the development standards for the plat, those are notes that are actually listed on the plat. So anybody who is reading or looking for the plat in the future knows this needs to happen, and if it's not happening, you know, we gotta fix that. So that's development standards 1 through 6, I believe. And that also includes, you know, stormwater management, the grading permit, that sort of thing.
Madam Chair, if I may, the development standards are something that in the past you've not seen in the town of Berthoud. The development standards really provide an outline of how a project will develop over time. You've seen some on past plats in the past 6 months, and you will be seeing them in the future because again, they establish those expectations. And they also give the applicant some assurances such as the vesting. It's letting whoever's going, these items will be recorded on the plat. They're also going to be recorded with the resolution. And they give an applicant assurances that they have the right to develop a certain way, and then also the expectations that go along with that development. So it's giving them assurances and it's giving the town assurances as well, and it's communicating how that development will occur to a potential purchaser of one of the lots.
There was a typo on 4, I don't know if that's fixed. It said 2897 instead of 287. And it's on page 2. And it's just cut and pasted.
Thank you.
Can we have question now about, for
And
example?
yes, with that, I
Yeah,
wanna say
okay,
thank
so-
you, and we're available for questions.
And just one more thing before Commissioner Hoffman's asked questions, we do have the engineer that is online, and Noah Nemers is the town engineer, he's with Baseline. He's gonna go over just a high-level summary of the engineering items that changed from preliminary plat, how they've changed per your direction, and how they've changed per the code in order to meet the standards for development. So Noah, are you able to give that summary? Can you hear us okay?
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Thank you.
Evening, commission members. major concern was making sure that there was access to each of the interior pad sites, that adequate utilities were being provided, and that there was a clear plan, profile, and cross-section for that roadway so that it was constructed properly, serve proper drainage and utilities to each of those pad sites. Lauren also touched on the development standards which were added to the plat, certification blocks which were added to the plat before you tonight. And just to touch on one of the most important aspects of this project is the intersection improvements at Mountain Ave and Meadowlark. We fielded a number of concerns from residents about the increase in traffic, and the applicant does have plans to improve that intersection. I also believe their traffic consultant, John Oldridge, is on this meeting tonight for any additional questions. But they are planning signalization, turn lane improvements. They are currently working with CDOT for the approval of those improvements. One of the items that came up late in that review by both CDOT and the town was a right-of-way dedication that's required at the northeast corner of this project. There's an outlot as part of the gateway to the east that should have been dedicated previously. It was found to not have been dedicated. The applicant is currently working with the HOA that owns that outlot to donate that piece of land to CDOT in order to build the remainder of that ADA ramp. And as we're talking about this ADA ramp, I should just highlight that it's just the turning space that is encroaching. So all the signal improvements and the ramps for the most part are within CDOT right of way, but the turning space at the top of the ramp was found to be encroaching outside the right of way. So in order to build that properly, we're asking that the applicant continue to push that forward, get that dedicated. One of the conditions before you tonight is that they do that prior to final plat. I will say that we are willing to discuss that tonight if there's a way that that has to move get pushed out. We just wanna make sure there's a trigger in place so that that does get resolved before they issue any building permits. And that's pretty much it. I'm available for questions, and as Lauren said, Baseline is a consultant, so I'm with Baseline, and I served the town engineer capacity for a number of years, and happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. So we'll now open it to questions for the staff. Would anyone on the commission like to ask a clarifying question of staff before the applicant presentation?
I have a question. Noah, is he considered staff?
Yes.
Hi Noah, this is Brett Wing. Hey, one of the pages in our documents we got shows the roundabout, and I believe it's at Meadowlark and Mountain.
That was an early concept that was considered.
Stoplight now.
It's not, it's stoplight, okay, thank you.
It was decided to be a stoplight.
And then I don't know if this was in your scope, but we had this discussion last time. But there was one of the lots that I believe at some point in time was dedicated for a grocery store. And my concern at that time, and still is, looking at the drawing, speaking from decades of experience, a semi navigating, backing into that dock, speaking from decades of experience, isn't happening. And I brought it up before, the turns, the way it backs in, typically there's another truck already there, whether we need multiple docks, if that's still gonna be a grocery store. And the other thing is, grocery stores get deliveries at 11 at night, 1 in the morning, 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning. And that truck, if you look at the drawing we have, looks like if it backed into the dock, it's gonna drive by through that neighborhood. I have a concern about the noise that those residents would be subject to with semis coming and going at all hours. So if that's addressed in this, I'm not sure.
So if I may, Madam Chair, Commissioner Wing, at this moment in time, this is just the subdivision. So it's just putting the lines on the map,
Okay,
and any future land uses that happen on the individual lots, they'll either have to go through a site plan process, which is an administrative process, or they'll come before you with a special use permit process. And those items such as truck turning radius, NOAA and the fire district will have to evaluate based on how they want to develop those individual lots, noise to neighbors, dust mitigation, stormwater quality, lighting,
So
architecture
that's all out of
standards.
scope for the final plat review.
Exactly, yeah, so tonight, we really truly are just looking at lines on a map and then the overall engineering standards for infrastructure and utility installation.
If there's multiple buildings on the lot, same thing, that's out of scope.
Exactly,
Okay.
yep.
Okay, so and that's the reason why I had a question about prior to recording plat, which is page, I don't remember, just the item that has been modified.
Yes.
Item number 4, can you explain me a little bit more in details? Yeah, the developer shall provide a copy of the right of way, blah, blah, blah.
Yes, that, I believe that's engineering.
Okay, so
Question,
it's
is
gonna be
Noah-
answered with engineering or?
That's the
Can I keep my
80s.
question for later?
Yeah,
So
no.
Noah, did you hear Commissioner Hoffman's question?
Yeah, so as I alluded to, this is the way we have this recommendation worded currently. This really stems from CDOT. I get the impression from our last meeting with CDOT that this is a big item for them, that they will not give a permit for these improvements at the signal with the ramp in its current location and the right of way encroachment as it stands. So my understanding is that would leave us with a couple options. We would have to move the ramp and put it in a location that it isn't going to be ultimately, so it would be a temporary location just because of this condition. Or we continue to push forward with getting the right of way dedication that's required in order for us to build this ramp where it needs to be. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, so but I have question about northeast. I can't see exactly where it is.
It's the northeast of the intersection of
Yeah.
56 and Meadowlark, not the
Not
corner,
the
not the lot, but the Meadowlark.
Yeah, the northeast corner is property that is currently undeveloped as well.
It's not my property.
Yeah,
Oh,
and
right.
the town does currently have an application on that property, but I don't know that we would want to wait to see what happens on that property or the results.
But I honestly I cannot figure out where it is on this map here.
So it is,
Northeast of
it's the northeast corner of the intersection of those two streets, so it's
so
off.
opposite to the lot number 3 then.
Exactly.
Yes.
Okay.
It's confusing.
And because this development is most likely going to develop before the other, this is at the final plat stage, the other is just beginning its land development phase. That's why CDOT is, what I believe I heard engineer Nemmers indicate is that CDOT is going to require that to occur when this particular developer is going through that improvement.
Okay, so
And when it's the turn for the developer to explain some things, and they can explain their timing as well.
okay.
But at this moment in time, it's just a requirement from CDOT and a requirement from the town.
Anticipating to the next lots being built on the other side,
Yes.
on the east side of yeah, what's the
Well,
name?
on the
It-
north side of.
Yeah. Yeah, a street light is a requirement because this particular development is going to demand the triggering event is this development.
Okay,
And so they have to do the improvements in accordance with that requirement.
For the 12
Thank you.
intersection, right?
Yeah.
Now, the sidewalk, however, I don't think there's a sidewalk that goes east from Meadowlark. I don't,
Not yet.
right, so will they just put like the ramp there and at some point connect the sidewalk, or will the developer have to put a sidewalk in?
Noah?
Just the ramp, and then if you look on the drawing that Lauren has presented right here, you can see that it provides crosswalks to all 4 corners of the
Right.
intersection, which I think is important.
Okay, so you just wouldn't have a sidewalk going east? No big deal, okay.
thank you.
Other clarifying questions for staff?
I have a question. Under the public notice and comment period, it describes that all the public notice and comment was satisfied. And it says comments received are attached to this submittal, and I didn't see any, and I was curious if that means we did not receive public comment. Or am I
That's
missing it?
Commissioner Donnelly, that's exactly what happened. We did not receive, we did receive one public comment about the trees, and that was early on, and Ms. Richardson, do you wanna talk about how that was?
Yes, I do have a slide for that, just in case we did have that question. So the tree removal plan, I believe this shows those particular trees in question from that question from the public. And the DNA was taken from those trees and saved, I believe. This was.
Will be, yeah.
It will be, I apologize. Yeah.
Why did you take DNA from the trees?
I'm gonna let Ann answer that, that was before,
It's a special tree.
that was when Bill was on
and-
the project.
Yeah, a member of the public commented that one of the trees may be an original tree in Berthoud, and it might be a rare cultivar of an apple tree. And so the town agreed to take DNA sampling of that tree and preserve it so that if there could be future creation of a new cultivar or just study of that particular DNA, that before the applicant removed those trees, that we would have the ability to do that DNA sampling, and our town forester agreed to do that.
How about planting this, taking the tree and planting it at another location?
Yeah, I don't think that the size and the age of that tree would not be a successful replant.
Alright.
Okay, if that's all the questions for staff, thank you very much, and we'll invite
you.
the applicant to give their presentation.
Oh,
Is yours next? There's two of them, here we go.
that it?
Yep, that's yours.
Okay, well, I think this is our fifth time together over the last 4 years, so we're certainly glad to be here at this spot. Dave came with a lot of anxiety, 4 years waiting around for this day, and then all that snow that came around. We weren't sure who was gonna show up, or if I was gonna be talking to a room full of Zoom people or not. But we're thankful, and thank you, Ann, for getting us all together and getting us to this point, for sure. I have a lot of confidence in what's been going on for the last 4 years with the planning team and our team, that we have vetted all the conditions that you gave us last time. We have made improvements through it. We've gotten pretty far on this right now. So my hope was to just kind of go review a little bit. I just want to take you through a review of where we started, what's happened since, and what we're looking forward to. I do have that one video in there that's been kind of going along the show for the last five times. It might be our last time on it, but the whole thing will take me less than 10 minutes. Is that cool? And then I'll answer any questions, I think, and I will come back to that ADA one. Is that okay?
Sounds good, thank you.
All right, so this one I failed to put volume and I failed to put music to it or anything, so you might have to hear a little bit of me talking a little bit, but here we go. I'm gonna start right off with the video. It's 1 minute and 30 seconds, so just remind you. My point to this video is that when we're gonna come to the end here, is that I think that we've done a tremendous job from the original vision to where we are today. It's almost exact, and that's pretty good. So here we go. We'll let that go and I'll come right back in. What do I do?
Space bar.
Space bar? There you go. Good job. Looks like it didn't save too good. That's the corner of 287. The whole concept on this was the original dream in the beginning was a mixed use. It was all set aside for 21 acres of commercial only. That just wasn't gonna work, especially in today's times when things are changing the way they are. We were innovative. We came up with this mixed use concept to be able to put residential alongside of commercial. We resource and track that that's the way the future is going. We see it all around towns with us, from Fort Collins to Loveland to Longmont, these shopping centers that are now getting rid of buildings and actually putting units inside of them. Most recently, McQuinney Boys again up on the Foothills Mall, they're tearing down half of that shopping center to put even more condos on the property. You know, because that's what it's about for sustainable businesses nowadays. You got your own clients right there in that parking lot. So this is a blend of all of that, where we have that residential put together, we have walking paths, walking trails, trailheads, parks. That's the separation line between the commercial and residential, rear alley, loading on these houses. And on this strip right here, the north edge, remember we stayed with single paired homes for the height limit for the neighbors that live next door to us? We sat in every one of those people's living room and talked to them and came up with a design over that. I'm sorry that image is not coming out too good. Darn. It's a big file. So that was a reminder again. I thought that was pretty cool. It gives a nice visual of what's going on. We'll break it down a little bit more. We just talked about the trailhead we put in there. Some of the things that we put in there came out of your approvals and came out of your suggestions. It came out of the people in the neighborhood. The trailhead, of course, is one of them. I think that might be out of line a little bit. But there's that visual right there of the movie we just played. We're all still there. I'm going to show you the plat map, the next map, and you'll see that all these lots are the same. The shopping center, the grocery store lot 7 we call it, is still the same. Those residential lots are still the same. It's all pretty good stuff. This is it, a little bit easier to read. The north end of that was the residential stuff we did, phase 1. Tri-Point Homes bought the whole thing, closed on June of 23. They have all but, I think I was just there, I think all but one lot has foundations in it already. You talk about a great idea, it's a home run concept that's working, and the people are waiting in line. So it's pretty cool. You can see everything is still there. Lauren talked about the green belts and the landscaping. You can see the tree designs. It's important to remember, Ann made a comment that this is just we're showing you a little bit more visuals than we should be, because we're here to talk about the line dimensions, but we all like visuals to see what it's going to be, and it just kind of presents what our dream is a little bit, you know. And again, this started 4 years ago with you, us, and your planning department, and we kept to it. It's pretty cool. Here it is, just a little scene, you know, beautiful Berthoud out there, the mountains and stuff like that. That's phase 1. That's the subdivision, just rocking. That's the park that's there. We've already installed the park. It's beautiful. It's highly maintained. You can see there's, and it's a picture, but you can see there's no debris anywhere. We're constantly out there picking up trash. We're constantly out there keeping on about keeping it clean. It's the line of sight. It's the gateway, you know, and this is the example that we want to show out there. So they're really doing great. The neighbors use that park quite a bit, so that's cool. And they use the detention pond too for soccer and stuff too down there. So it's functioning just the way it was really planned. This is the northern view. This is my first time at a PowerPoint, so excuse anything. That's the northern view, just to kind of see how it's going again. Just astonishing that they're moving so fast and they're building so fast. That's great. You know, as a developer, you know, I'm going to talk on this later, but you know, this was scary times over the last few years, because during this COVID stuff in this last couple of years, when prices went up 30% and all these developers or all these end users were backing out of contracts, leaving their hundreds of thousands of dollars of earnest deposits behind. Tri-Point stayed around, and I believe their philosophy was to be one of the only games going when the time comes around, and it's coming. You know, people are in a buying mood again. So just another view of it. Playing with my new little drone. There's the park again. The detention ponds are all clean. They're always kept swept out. They're all nice, grass seeded. Everything is in compliance. We are currently in the warranty period with this project right now, and we have had absolutely no issues yet. We just had a state inspection last month, passed it. So that was really great. It was a surprise one at that. Okay. That's that phase 1. So here we go. We're talking about phase 2 now. This is the commercial aspect to go along with it. Some of that work that was done in phase 1 has been physically done in phase 2. Mainly just the detention pond was brought over, but everything is stubbed out and everything is correct, you know, and we're ready to go on that one. So that's the corners right there. that's the corner you're
Yeah.
talking about right
Yeah.
there on that one, that's the northeast, it threw me off too. I kept thinking, cause I've been calling this project the northeast corner forever, you know? But that one threw me off, so you got that one, right? Or can I come back to that? Just another view, that's it, looking north again. Oh, oop, is that north?
No.
No, it's south.
So,
Okay, so look at Old Bush, so that's
Southwest.
got the other way. The south, actually, wasn't it? The stop signal, we alluded to that a little bit. One of the things that we have to do in our agreement is to put the stop lights in. Okay, that is triggered by basically lot 7, which is the grocery store, because of the traffic that itself will create. It was at that point that stop light is created and necessary to be put in. Again, I was just referencing the detention pond that we've already done some construction in phase 2 already. We had to make sure that pond system and the detention pond system drained, whether our project phase 2 wasn't built or not. We just make sure that it keep flowing. That's kind of it on the project, and a little bit more about where we're going, you know, so we have conditions on here, staff approval on there. Working with Ann on it, making sure that we got everything right, we've been moving forward on getting all those conditions. I hope I can say that all the conditions that are pertinent to the project, other than the 2 things that are out of my control here, are already submitted. So we were anxious to get going, and there's some timelines that takes, there's review processes that takes, so we're still kind of thinking ahead. One of the things is the monument sign. So this is a draft, second round draft, of what the monument sign might look like on the corner of the highways, 287 and 56.
it's in diagonal, I mean, I guess facing.
It's squared off
mountain.
to 287.
Yeah, but is it going to be,
I can't get it right on the tip mark, because there's a big drainage hole, there's a big
Yeah.
drainage system right there. So we had to move it over a little bit, so we've got the north and south view.
it's gonna be put for 45% angle compared to 287 and Mountain View, I guess?
No,
No.
I don't think so, it's gonna be squared off to 287.
287, so.
Correct. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because if the round corner right there is an easement, that's a drainage ditch, and we can't put anything on top of it. It's a big one.
Yep, so the Commissioner Hoffman's and Madam Chair, the final placement and design
It's gonna
will
be for
be,
later.
yeah, will be finished after the hearing, but the applicant is on their way to
Yeah.
getting all of that
Okay,
finalized.
I didn't mean to dwell on it, it was just something, it was just a highlight that we've already got it, we're working on it. We are teaming with the town on it because it's half their sign as well. So we're working on that, it's just an idea of what's going on. That's what the entrance signs might look like going in. We have bus stations that were put into the subdivision as well, or bus stops, I should say. You know, that's something that we are doing as a public improvement as well. So that's already set up and been set aside for. We have our architectural guidelines already in place that mirror the ones that you guys spent your time and money on to put in place for town, DHO I think it was. So those are all ready to go as well. I just remind us again, just after that little series there, just coming back to round in a circle again, that we had the same design that we started with in the very beginning. Very close to it, 95%. All right, this is just an overcap. Some people like to know it, some people don't. I don't know if you can read that or not. But just real quick, over the last 4 years, that's what do we say? We started 4 years ago. This year, March, as a matter of fact, so it's kind of an anniversary month for us. That's kind of unusual. We had unanimous planning, board approvals for the master plans, for the zoning. We had unanimous approvals for phase 1. We have 2 years and a lot of money spent on engineers on that stuff. We started development on June of 22, so it kind of took us less than a year to put phase 2, to develop phase 1 out altogether and get it to the closing table on June of 23. So that was pretty cool. During that time, we were dealing with COVID, the pandemics, and you guys had a hidden water hole in the bottom of that land, 18 feet down, that I had to deal with, which was a mess, and took a lot of time on that one too. Where most buyers were canceling contracts, these guys stayed around.
Did you say that again? What was it?
Pardon me?
What did you hit water? Is that what you said?
Well, you know, every project's got its surprises, right? And when we're pioneering, we don't know about them until we dig into them. And the northeast corner of that property, about 18 feet deep, had a lot of water. So we had to dig a huge side of that thing out by 18 feet. And then you layer it back 1.5 feet, and you have inspections every 1.5 feet of comparisons. And then we had to do it again. So it was ugly. But it's all better now. Phase 2, we're in the same thing. The commercial process really started in June of '23. A lot of studies were already done by that point. So it was just the town and us going at it. The town, that's when we got introduced to Ann. So the town brought in some new planners, and she's been a lot of help on getting to this point right here. Just lovely things. Stop lights, we talked about that. We've got over $2 million in public improvements that we're putting in. That's a lot. Okay, it's been 10 months from that point to now, to this point right here. We think that that's relatively fast. So we're happy about that as well. So anyways, we're ready to go. If we can get past here, we got one more approval to do tonight. We are scheduled and hoping to go for the week of middle of April is what we're hoping for. If we can get through these conditions and so forth in time and give the town time to approve them and see if we can get going. So we're hoping for one more unanimous vote tonight. But I'm here to answer any questions. Before that, I might just touch on that ADA thing one more time for you. There's 3 things that are left on not for the approval, but for us to get building. You know, there are conditions, and there's one is a development agreement that we're working on after this. The other one is with Welch Ditch. We just have to have an update and re-sign a memo that they already signed before. We don't think we'll have a problem with that since the one we signed before had us doing more work than what we're doing now. So it's just been a matter of catching up with the people to get that. And then the third and the other issue is this ADA one. So this has been tough. Not only have we been dealing with, you know, town process and everything else, which is already a lot, but we have not 1 but 2 highways on each side of us. And that brings in CDOT. That's a whole nother approval process. And we're not very big on their totem pole when they're building freeways and big stuff, you know what I mean? So we've gotten past that. We have gotten through their process. We have got what they call their notice to proceed, which in my opinion is their approval. We have one technicality left out, and when it comes down to this stoplight, it's if you can picture it in your head, it's the little ramp when you push the button, it's got the little ramp that you can go down onto the street. That's it. We just need the dedication for it. We don't see that there's any problem getting it. We just haven't been able to get through to the homeowners association in last month. You know, it's for the benefit of everybody. Like I said, I don't expect any problems. But as Noah alluded, that is the one thing that is up there high on my ability to proceed. Since it is something that won't happen for quite a long time until Lot 7, until the grocery store or Lot 7 gets done. I'd like to get that pressure taken off of me for now so I can get going. And we'll come up, like Noah said, some kind of trigger for you, for peace of mind, for down the road here. You know, maybe that's when we sell Lot 7, maybe, you know, that has to be resolved by that or sometime before that. I don't hope it will take that long, you know. But that's my request out of the night, other than the obvious. And then I'm open to any questions that you have.
Thank you very much. Questions for the applicant?
Do we have bus lines coming through town?
We have one bus.
One of the things that the applicant was agreeable to is meeting with Transfort, the bus line that comes out of Fort Collins. And they did go ahead and include a bus stop in their development because the Transfort wants to come in and down and around, so.
Didn't they say it was like 9 stops a day they're expecting or something on that? 9 stops a day. We thought it was a good thing for the neighborhood. We thought it was a good thing for transportation for people to get around and you know, economically a good way to get people to the center.
It looked like you were putting in 2, is that correct?
I'm sorry?
I thought I saw where you're putting in 2.
Oh, no, that was some of my
Artist rendition.
artist liberation there. I put 2 different ones for your sake. I put one in the fall, but what it was is the design. I didn't want you to think it was a big bus station. It's a bus stop up against the curb with probably with some kind of ADA ramp on that too, you know? Where the bus will pull up and they basically have it where they'll come in in Meadowlark, make the first left, there's the bus stop, and then they make the first left back out. So it's pretty quick.
So it's not on 56, it's gonna be on
Sorry?
the bus stop is not on 56.
No. No, it's in the site itself.
Okay.
I can maybe go back to it.
Yeah, use the,
Does it show up anymore? Did my time run out?
no,
Yeah, we've got it on our screens.
Changing it now. Okay.
Right there. So you can see where Meadowlark is now, right?
yeah,
You turn in right there, you'll turn left,
yeah,
and kind of where you see that first opening on the right there is where the bus stop is.
okay.
And then it'll go right back out that exit.
The exit down on 56,
See,
yeah.
see this one, Mark? So the bus will come in here,
Yeah?
here's the
stop
bus
there.
stop, and it'll come right back
Yeah,
out
okay.
there.
Alright,
So it's only touching the
Awesome.
corner of the center, it's not causing bus traffic or delays or anything, and I think it opens up a lot of opportunity for a lot of people.
that's good.
Yeah, I think so too. That was an easy one. Okay.
You mentioned a stoplight, I'm not sure I understand all the details. So you're gonna add a stoplight somewhere?
We do. That's right there again, on the intersection of Meadowlark and Main Street,
Okay,
right? Not a roundabout, that was an old concept. Actually, I think it even turned out to be more expensive than a stoplight, even though
so there's gonna be
stoplights are
two
pretty expensive
stoplights
everywhere.
in
Excuse me?
so it's two stoplights, okay.
And again, it's,
Any,
sorry.
any coordination we can do with these two stoplights to not have to wait one?
I believe that would be CDOT that manages that.
Oh, you mean light management, so it's green for
Yeah.
both of it?
Yeah.
No, but that is a very detailed, great thing.
Sorry, well, okay,
It's
so
a good
it's
one.
detail,
I
but
love it when I go right down the road and everything turns green, right? That's what you're
Yeah.
talking, yeah. It makes a difference.
give me the remote, you know.
Only at your level, you get those kind of things.
And my question is related to this, and I know that it's been mentioned in a few different ways, but just to be very clear, the stoplight construction wouldn't start until lot 7 was sold.
That's what triggers it as far as traffic count does.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that will be the timing of that construction is not yet finalized.
right.
The timing will be in the development agreement. So the developer will indicate all of the improvements that will have to be made, the sidewalk, the trails, the tree lawns, the detention facility,
Everything.
the infrastructure installation, the streets, the timing of the stoplight. All of that will be in that development agreement, and we're in the process of taking a look at that agreement, and our attorney has had a lot of other agreements in front, and this one is moving up to the top of the pile now. So, yep, we'll start working that, and it's a negotiation between the developer and the town, and NOAA especially will be involved with the triggering events that are warranting the improvement to be made and at what timing.
And that's another thing, in phase one, we didn't have development agreements. Town wasn't doing them then. It was, hey, follow the approval, and that was it. You know, and it worked for us, you know, but here we are. This is a little bit more complicated with CDOT involved and everything else.
So let me ask you this, let's assume everything gets approved, how long will it take for you to develop this?
The timeline on it is 5 months,
5 months to build it all out, streets, all that kind of stuff?
different than selling everything.
No,
Yeah. But 5 months is, and that leaves a little room for Murphy, so it's pretty flat property already. A lot of the big infrastructure's done already. You already have a huge water line that goes through the property already, you know, and all we're doing is grading lots. You can imagine if you were to drive into a subdivision looking for a lot for a new home.
Mhm.
All the streets and curbs are in, everything below that's all in. Pick which one you want, and in our case, we're not going vertical, we're not building, we're selling the lots. We're looking for someone like Rite Aid or something.
No, Rite Aid.
Help me out, Brent, help me out.
Other clarifying? Oh yeah, thank you, Karen. Hi.
Hi, Commissioner Anderson, I apologize that I could not be with you all today, but couldn't get CDOT to open up I-70 just for me. so. But anyway, I just have a few questions, if I may, Madam Chair. First is, I wanted to thank you for all you've been through to persevere through this development, and to, and as things changed, we hit some surprises, and all of that.
Thank you.
I know when we've spoken before about this at preliminary plat stage, you had mentioned that you already had some interest, at least a couple of the lots. Is there interest in more of the lots at this point? So, and that goes to my mind to timing, that's my first question.
Okay, I think I understood it. So it's been a moving target, to be honest with you. We had 4 of them under contract. We have lost a couple a little bit just because of honestly, they didn't want to wait around anymore and they went to sites that were ready to go now. And so that was very frustrating. You know, I've got a couple more that are sitting on the fence right now waiting for tonight, and I still have a couple under contract, yes.
Thank you for that. So you had mentioned the sign in the southwest corner, that would be kind of the welcome to Berthoud sign. That's just still in the planning stage at this point, considering that overall plan design and that kind of thing.
That's correct. Terry's involved with it already. Ann's already passed it around. What I showed you tonight was really just an advanced version of the revisions that are already taking place. So that's still in the approval process. You guys are in control of that one.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
One last thing, and I know that we had talked about this before we talked about the preliminary plat. We had talked about the pocket park, which again, thank you for that park. I know that it's getting some use because when I've driven by there, I've seen people in the park using the park. We also talked about some type of art for that park. Was that something that you're still entertaining at this point?
Art, is that what you said?
Yes.
Like sculpture and stuff?
Right. Maybe
It-
some changes.
It wasn't on any of our plans, but I'm certainly open to doing like a Berthoud art contest, something like that. It is a detention pond. I don't know how much I can get away with.
It's just I wanted to throw that out there. I always like to promote the artists that live in our communities.
Let's do a Berthoud campaign for local artists.
Thank you for that. Thank you
Yep.
for being open to that.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Chair Anderson. We'll coordinate and send you a snowmobile next time so you can be here. Additional
Anything
questions?
else?
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay.
Nice job.
Okay, I will now open the public hearing. Just a reminder to please approach the podium if you would like to speak, and each person will have 3 minutes to make their comments. Is there anyone who would like to make a public comment on Zoom?
John Terrell, 1621 Mountain Avenue. I owned a little boat shop on the corner across the street from all this going on. I'll start it out like I did last time. I'm not opposed to the development. I'm very concerned about the traffic. We're talking about putting in a stoplight, which you're talking about lot 7. If lot 7 never sells, does the light not go up? So I'm really concerned because they've already taken one entrance to my property. So I only have a right turn now. So I got people that come in with boats, RVs, they're pulling long things. We don't have much room from 287 to Meadowlark. If you look at the front of my property on the north end, there's got trenches. People get run off the road when they're trying to merge there. Now imagine somebody turning into my lot, okay? Without widening it or doing something there, that is a problem waiting to happen. We're gonna put in a light, sure. If lot 7 doesn't sell, what happens? It's a problem waiting to happen. There's already a lot of accidents on 287. They don't know how to merge there. There needs to be more thought as to what's going on there. That 200 feet section from that one light to the proposed next light, it's a problem. It will happen. So something needs to be done, and I've asked multiple times. They kicked me over to CDOT. CDOT is impossible to get a hold of. I don't know who to talk to over there. But something needs to be done. I mean, I get blocked in when there's a snowstorm because they plow right through it. I have to dig into to get into my own lot. And there needs to be something done there. Okay.
Thank you. We're gonna leave it to the public testimony. Oh, you can come, please, sorry. Public testimony right now.
Hi, my name is Andre Aguiar and I live on the 1648 Alpine Avenue. So Middle Lark and Alpine, right on that corner. And I agree with that. We're not against any development. It's good for the town. People like, some people don't, but it's important, right? Bring business. Traffic, safety for everybody there in our neighborhood, on the Gateway Parkway. Been talking to a lot of neighbors, a lot of friends. There's a lot of kids there. And we already have 10,000 movements or traffics or cars coming around. You're gonna bring that business. We already have those new towns coming in. It's gonna be another 300 people living, right? Maybe on those houses, on the multifamilies. We have the bike park going to Middle Lark. Plus everybody else that's already living there. So how many more cars gonna go into Middle Lark with this development? Again, we're not against, we're just really concerned with the traffic patterns that's gonna happen there. Mr. Brad mentioned those semi-trucks. If it's gonna be a grocery store in the future, we don't know, right? But looks like we've been pushing that around, pushing forward to the next phase. But what's gonna happen if a semi-truck has to go there 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning to fulfill the grocery store, even the other business that might be going there? Where are they gonna turn? Are they gonna turn on Alpine, turn left, and turn left on Glacier to enters there, or to Tundra, which is barely enough space there, and then voice the Mr. Gentleman, then I forgot his name, I'm sorry, the traffic light. How many cars, what's gonna be the traffic pattern on Middle Line? How many cars are gonna be parking there until they can turn right to go to 56, to go to 287? That's what we really concerned about that. What's gonna happen with that neighborhood? Again, Middle Lark, I already called here a couple of times, maybe to install speed bumps or something. That's a speed trap. You have people flying on Middle Lark. Flying. Not just the neighbors, people that come and go for the bike park, which is awesome. We appreciate that. That's beautiful, amazing. We go there all the time, it's nice. But again, we are really concerned with traffic patterns and what's gonna happen. Now we're talking about bringing buses to that, turning left, and they're really short, couple yards, right? 300, 400, 500 yards for them to make a left. What if they have to stay there for 3, 4, 5 minutes waiting somewhere to make able to turn a left to go into the new area? What's gonna happen with the traffic jam? It's gonna be another stoplight on the gas station coming from Grace Place Church. Because that's on Sundays, that's really crazy there. So again, we are not, against any progress. But we really needed to be really concerned about the traffic that's gonna happen there. Because it's gonna be a really traffic jam and really dangerous for everybody living there. Noise. We don't want the trucks, semi-trucks coming around 3 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock, 10 at night. you know? What's gonna happen there is gonna be scheduled for that. So just, again, we just wanna like to voice a lot of my friends, my neighbors that live on that community that are really, I'm saying that a lot, but that's we really have to be careful with how we're gonna plan that traffic. It's gonna be a nightmare. 56, 37, there's a car crash there almost once a week. We can see that, we hear that. It's gonna be more. Guarantee it's gonna be more. Especially turn right, traffic light coming in, what's gonna be in. I mean, 10,000 movements, cars coming in and out, it's gonna be what, 30, 40,000 now? With all this nice development that's gonna be coming in, plus the houses, you know, plus friends coming in. And so if we start to think about the overall picture, there's gonna be a lot of cars and trucks now coming in and out. So again, we appreciate the opportunity to voice our opinions here, but we really have to be careful with that. And we are not against, I mean, we like that, right? We're gonna be right across the street, a grocery store there, it's gonna be nice. Probably gonna spend more money at grocery store than I want to, because we're gonna be walking in and out, but you know, we like that, you know, brings nice business for the town. You know, a nice place for us to eat and do everything else. And just one note on the playground, it's really nice, we use that a lot. It's not as clean. Not as clean that you would, you know, sometimes we find bolts and nuts and we know that's happening. I pick it up a lot, my friends too, we throw away, but it's just for the construction people just to pay more attention with that, right? Something flies, the wind blows a lot, so we have kids running around there all the time, and so just be aware that sometimes we find some parts, you know, nuts and bolts and nails there. But again, thank you very much. I
Thank you
appreciate
very
it
much.
for you for us to speak. Thank you. For feedback.
I'm Lynn Larson, 205 Hubble Street, and I'm on the Berthoud Tree Committee. I hadn't planned to speak tonight, and I apologize, I didn't look at the landscape plan in detail before I came. But
Paul
thank-
Furnace did.
Pardon?
Paul Furnace has.
Okay. I'm glad Paul has been involved because I'm very concerned about the tree lawn size. We have a development on the east side of town that's in progress, and they put in a tree lawn this wide. There's a new house on that development where the so-called tree lawn is literally this wide. There's 2 trees planted, and they had to put the trees in order to get occupancy for the house. But those trees are gonna destroy the sidewalk. They're probably not gonna live in that little 18-inch distance. So I hope that the tree lawns, that Paul has done a good job of looking at the tree lawns that are planned here. We have other developments in town where we had problems with developers planting trees and not taking care of them. So hopefully tree lawns are gonna be wide enough, there's gonna be adequate irrigation so that the trees will live. Thank you.
Thank you. Additional comments? Is there anyone looking to give testimony on Zoom?
Noah had some feedback on the traffic and the
Okay.
light.
I think that we'll wait for the planning commission deliberation to bring up Noah's comments. And so if that's all that everyone would like to contribute to the public hearing, I'll now close it.
Madam Chair, if I may, I'm gonna take the sign-up sheet to those that did speak, and we wanna make sure that we capture everybody's name for the minutes and the record.
Great, thank you. So what we'll do is the planning commission will deliberate on the different aspects of the presentations, and if we have questions in response to the public testimony, then we can refer those to you or the staff.
So you're gonna do that before you know the other parts of the story?
Well, we will ask for clarification if needed, which I expect will happen. So where would we like to begin in the deliberation? Does anyone have an immediate response to the comments heard in the public testimony?
So I think the big thing's gonna be traffic patterns, right?
Yeah.
Traffic patterns, when that light goes in, the trigger on that, right now, that trigger is lot 7, which is the largest one. I know that's the only thing that I think is an issue.
Right,
The light
Madam.
will go in.
Yeah, Madam Chair, and Commissioner Semidalis, the timing of the installation of the light is not finalized.
Okay.
So the applicant indicated that perhaps by the sale of lot 7, however, that's not final.
Oh, okay, okay.
This is Karen, Commissioner Anderson, and I'm just wondering if that's something that as a commission, we should deliberate as a condition as to when that happens. And would that be something that appropriate for us to add as a condition if we felt strongly about it?
I think we should hear from our town engineer regarding the timing of that installation. And what is being warranted by the traffic impact study and the background traffic. I think Noah may have some comments about that. And that's definitely something that if you wanted to, you can make that a condition of approval, or you could let Noah manage that through the development agreement process, which is where all of the improvements will be timed, is in that agreement.
Okay, so that could be, just to clarify, that could be something that we request of Noah depending on our deliberations.
Yes.
Noah, would now be a good opportunity to speak to that and the other traffic comments?
Yeah, absolutely. I put in the chat, I don't know if you are able to see that in front of you.
Yeah, we cannot.
Okay, so I will explain to you, Aldridge Transportation Consultants at our request and an earlier submittal put together a warrant analysis as to when that signal would meet warrants. And they ran 3 different scenarios. In the existing conditions, they determined that a signal isn't warranted. As the residential gets fully built out, they determined that it's very close to meeting a 4-hour warrant for a signal at that location, which is pretty much where we're at today. And then sometime between that point and my understanding is 50% build out of the commercial, then you would meet 3 different warrants. So my recommendation would be not to wait until 50% of the commercial is built out. We would want that signal to be in place prior to it being a problem. So I would have to look back and see if what Scott is mentioning in terms of the development of lot 7 was ever discussed at a previous hearing, but I don't recall that being a trigger personally. So I would just recommend that as a staff, we would look at this and make sure that we, put a trigger in there that makes sense from the signal going in well before warrants are met.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. And is there any reason why the developer wouldn't be able to put in the signal on their own? Does that require CDOT cooperation that could slow down the process?
CDOT's currently reviewing plans, and as Scott said, they're well underway on approval of the signal design that's in place. It's just this ramp issue that has become a problem here in the last month or so.
So the ramp issue is all that needs to be resolved from CDOT's point of view?
Yes.
Okay.
And if I may, one of the triggering events for that CDOT ramp might be a good place to place that would be prior to substantial completion of the improvements that the developer makes, that the developer shall provide a copy of the right-of-way or dedication or donation of land to CDOT that's required to make the ADA ramp, to complete that ADA ramp. So that would be after the final plat's recorded, after the development agreement is recorded. They can get going on their construction, but before the town would give them an issuance of a substantial completion of the improvements, that would have to be met. And that would align with construction.
Well,
Well, but if I understand well, that ramp will help not having too many people waiting at the light from downtown Burton, correct?
Correct.
The person who came here expressed the issue of having lines on Meadow Lake Drive because of people getting out of the grocery store, people coming from, and what he mentioned about turning left to enter the development with the bus might also be an issue.
So this,
If a line of car is waiting for the green, so is there a ramp to turn from Meadow Lake, drive to the right, skipping the light to increase the no?
no, so the idea was not substantial completion of build out of the subdivision, but this would be substantial completion of just installing the infrastructure before any building would occur on site. That they would need to have that ramp, the right of way and everything done for that ramp before a development even occurred in there. So that would preempt those big concerns.
Okay. Yeah, because what he said and what Brett said about the semi and the noise it can create, this is something real. We should take care of that, yeah.
Definitely, and staff hears you and agrees with you that this is it's a commercial corner, it's a very important commercial corner. There, as Mr. Terrell noted, that there are concerns for that intersection. And that's why during that development agreement, when we finalize that, NOAA will be insistent on before, right now, I think I heard NOAA indicate that before half of this would build out, those 3 warrants would be met. And so we want to preempt needing that. And so at some moment in time, it's going to have to go in before this development is even half built out. And so that's when that ramp would have to be constructed as well, because that's a component of the signals. And so just getting the right of way for the signal, that's one of the first hurdles. And staff believes that getting that right of way before, so after the developer is going to install the streets, the sewer lines, the water lines, and before just that infrastructure reaches substantial completion, staff thinks at that moment in time they would need to have the right of way for the ramp. So that's before any lots are under development.
But this is the ramp to enter the street.
This would be the ramp on the east
Yeah.
side for
From
pedestrians.
56.
For pedestrians.
Oh, yeah, it says sidewalk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that would be, as they're doing the development on the site for the internal streets and the water, the sewer line, the stormwater management system,
Yeah.
that before the town says, yes, you're good to go, and you've met substantial completion, before anybody could start constructing on the lots, that would need to occur. Because it will take more time, and instead of having that be prior to recording the final plat, that prior to entering substantial completion, staff felt as if that would be a more justified triggering event.
So Anne, is there anything that we as a commission would need to alter in these recommendations to comply with that?
Yes, so if you agreed with the timing, and I'm sure the applicant would want to have something to say about the timing as well. And NOAA would want to confirm this timing, that Lauren, that we met and determined that prior to substantial completion, the developer shall provide a copy of the right-of-way dedication or donation of land to the Colorado Department of Transportation that is required to complete the ADA ramp at the northeast corner of Mountain and Meadowlark Avenues. And so if you decided that you wanted to add that, that would be added as a condition of approval to your motion.
Okay. And so I'll give maybe one more minute for us to discuss this internally, but then I do think it would be good to give the applicant an opportunity to respond to that timing. Do we have additional comments as a commission?
Madam Chair, I just wanted to ask about Mr. Larson's concern about, can maybe one staff can give us a little bit more feedback about that, the size of that tree line, the landscape plan?
15 feet.
Did you have did you have a response to the size of the tree line? No, it's okay,
Ours is 15 foot wide, and it's all
15
fully
feet.
irrigated.
I just wanted to make sure she heard, yeah, thank you.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear a response.
Yeah, the response is that the tree line is 15 feet and fully irrigated.
Okay.
This is Jake with Iowa Engineering on the call.
Hi, Jake.
I just wanted to, hello, I'm the civil engineer for a developer.
Okay.
I just wanted to clarify on that. So the tree line along Highway 56 varies, but it's 10-foot minimum.
Okay.
And the tree line along Meadowlark is also 10-foot minimum. And then all the tree lines interior, the development will be in line with your code, and I think that's 6 or 7 feet, if I'm remembering correctly. That's what was installed at the residential phase.
Okay.
And then Scott, did you want me to speak about the ramp just?
No, I'll do it when I get up.
Yeah, so are we ready to ask the applicant to respond to the timing, or any last comments?
Is there, do you wanna talk about each issue individually with the applicant, or do you wanna address any other comments?
Well, I have some specific comments on the traffic on Meadowlark, but maybe it would be,
That's what I was thinking too.
maybe we can deal with the ramp and signal and then talk about the traffic next. Does that sound okay to everyone?
So I have a point of clarification, as we were told that the scope of us is to approve the lines. I wonder the relevance of traffic, water, art, signs, buildings, monuments, roads. It sounded like that's all out of scope. We're approving the lines. So I'm a little confused why we would have to address all these issues that aren't part of what we're actually chartered to do for this. That's my understanding. Could you clarify that?
Madam Chair?
Yes, that's.
So as part of the final plat process, because there are not end users indicated on these lots yet, a traffic analysis or a traffic impact study is required, and it is part of the overall scope of a subdivision approval. And so while you are exactly right, we're approving the lines and the location of infrastructure and where the pipes and all of that is going to go, we also have to consider the long-term impact of the subdivision and how that does meet and comply with safety standards. And each individual lot that will develop in this subdivision will also, they'll have to do independent traffic analysis as well as part of their site plan or special use permit process. And that will validate if the developer's traffic impact study was accurate in their projection of land use, because we never know. The applicant has indicated that they have individual business owners that are interested in the properties. Staff has not seen an application or a pre-application or any calls or inquiries on the property yet. So we don't know. They may have to end up combining some lots, and the conditions and the site-specific results and impacts may change over time as well, but the applicant develops that projection. And that is something that we can talk about, and it is a condition that they'll have to make a commitment on when they will make the improvement installation, that offsite improvement, the signal.
So for example, the grocery store egress, a traffic light, that grocery store is gonna generate at least 15,000 customers a week, that's 15,000 trips. So is that out of scope or do we consider that?
Well, the grocery store, we don't even know,
So
is it
should we
gonna
not talk
happen?
about traffic
I wouldn't
then?
talk about a grocery
Because
store
we don't know
because-
we don't know any of it, right?
Not in the
No,
context
so-
of who is owning the lots.
So is traffic relevant to talk about if we don't know anything that's happening in the commercial?
Well, I would say traffic generated by a grocery store is irrelevant because we don't know if a grocery store is even going there or
Sure.
not.
Mhm.
I would say traffic in general being generated from a commercial development is very relevant. And then, but specific uses, we don't know what's going in there yet.
And this brown part, those are built, right? We all
They're
just.
on the
They're
plans.
under construction
Yeah,
right
they're-
now.
They're physically, you see them,
Yeah.
so this is, it's upon us.
Mhm.
So we know the units there, we know the traffic there, which certainly needs to be in consideration. And since the only thing separating the commercial and those is that one little road, but it sounds like that's not in our area of discussion.
Right, so we're not talking about the townhomes now, we're just talking about this commercial component. And
Right,
I know the applicant will want to discuss the premise behind the projected
right.
trips.
Mhm.
And then Noah can also talk about that as well.
And since that's one of the main arteries feeding all of that commercial that runs right against a residential, we should probably take that into consideration as well, correct?
Yep, and when these individual lots develop out, they will have to be.
Commercial lots?
When the commercial lots develop out, they will have to do buffering, they will have to do landscaping. All of these things, lighting, adhering to the dark sky standards, the common architectural plan, signage. All of those things will have to be met. At that moment in time, those individual lot owners, this is not just you're done. They still have to come forth to the town of Berthoud, and if it's a special use permit use, they will come before you and the town board of trustees. And if it is a site plan use that is administratively approved, but it goes through the same very detailed development review that a use by special review does, the only difference is that there is not a hearing because it's already deemed appropriate for that zone district.
So based on that, we would really truncate the number of items perhaps we're discussing.
So the items that I have in my mind that I would like to discuss and have the applicant respond to are related to the ramp and signalized intersection. And I had questions about local traffic on Meadowlark, so those were all traffic related to the
Yeah.
the commercial development itself. Was there other topics that you were
No, I just
concerned
heard
about?
going through the
Yeah.
whole list of it, and it
Okay.
sounds like it's really,
Those are.
really on the traffic is the subject matter.
Yes, yeah, I would agree with that.
And I guess, and maybe if I, just a question, it's a general question, I guess, when I look at the Mountain Avenue overview plan, it talks about this this area being a vibrant, walkable commercial district. And so I guess I was just curious if you could comment on at the plat stage, how do you what are you looking for to achieve a vibrant, walkable commercial district?
That's a great question, and it's actually one that Jake McMillan, the applicant's engineer, did provide. I believe it's in your packet. Lauren, can you?
Yeah.
Was it on one of the exhibits that you put up on there?
It was not.
That there is an exhibit that's, in our packet that shows the potential, and again, because these lots this is all schematic. And so there is an exhibit that shows in theory where the sidewalks are going to go between the different lots. And the applicant has already illustrated the trail on the south side of the property north of Mountain. And then there is a sidewalk going on the west side of Meadowlark, so it will go from south to north. And then there will be sidewalks amongst the subdivision itself that will be internal, that will provide linkages between all of these different lots. And then between the lots themselves, there will be connection points too. And it is really hard because normally you think about a subdivision being the residential type of subdivision where you would see all the trail linkages and all of those items. But with this, because we don't know the final configuration of what those properties, how they're going to develop out, some of that will be, it will be regulated and mandated as part of that site planning process for those site-specific uses. But we have to adhere to the port plan. That's in our comprehensive plan, it's in our land use development code. There has to be linkages between all of these. The developer, again, is showing them on the external, and then on the details of that internal drive, there are sidewalks there as well. But then links into the individual lots will come with site planning. But that's a very important comment, Commissioner Donnelly, because the town of Berthoud, number one, street trees, tree lawns, our canopy, and then that interconnectivity between all developments are very important.
And I just comment, like the visualizations that you presented in the video, that really illustrates what it could be. I'm just not sure at this point in time, that's all speculation almost, isn't it? Like,
Pretty close.
So if I understand, what we see here inside as a layout of the different places of building for businesses is not what it's gonna be.
Exactly right, Commissioner Hoffmans. This is a schematic drawing.
Okay.
And it might not turn out like this. I think what might be the better drawing to look at is the one that was in Ms. Richardson's presentation, and get away from this schematic drawing, because I think this is what's causing a lot of the frustration. Exactly,
could you
yeah.
put that up
Too much
on the
information.
screen?
Yeah.
Would that be possible?
It's
Yeah.
it's just an example.
Yeah, this is just an example, and it's a lovely example of what could be, but it's not reality today.
And I guess one other comment that I have, and we talk about traffic and concerns on Meadowlark, and I do understand that from the public comments. And maybe staff could comment on this. Did the staff analyze with the traffic study, the additional traffic on US Highway 56 and 287 and that intersection as well? I know one of the public comments was that there's an accident at that intersection every day, and I've seen some very bad accidents at that intersection. So I'm just curious if, and I apologize, that's could be out of scope for this review, but I'm curious what the town's plans are with that intersection.
Madam Chair and Commissioner Donnelly, I am happy to say I'm going to punt that question to the town engineer and let Noah answer that question on background traffic and how that traffic impact study is reviewed.
Yeah.
Noah, did you get that? This is in reference to traffic at 56 and 287 and whether that was included in the traffic impact study.
It was, typically what we do is meet with the applicant and their engineer prior to moving forward. We have a pre-application on what's required in the traffic study, and that intersection was part of what was analyzed in both existing and future. And there was no recommendations that came out of that for improvement to that particular intersection. CDOT is also a referral agency, so there were no comments to my knowledge from CDOT as well.
Does that answer your question?
It does. I guess I would still have concerns with that intersection, but I don't think it's part of, I don't think it's part of this topic at hand today.
I would also direct you to John Aldridge. It looks like his video's on. If you have additional questions on his study,
John, did you have a comment?
I think he's talking on mute.
I try to keep on muting. There we go. Yeah, with regard to background traffic, I think it's very important that we always look at, what the growth aspects are of the community as well as, the surrounding area. And CDOT has a very good historical 20-year growth rate that we employ when we determine what the what the background traffic is going to be. So it's fully incorporated in our studies. And so we kind of layer on then what the traffic generation from the development itself to analyze what we need in terms of traffic control. And in this case, obviously, we determined that a traffic signal is appropriate. And I'll say traffic signals are very smart. We're installing detectors which detect the presence of vehicles within, that are coming, arriving at a particular time or arriving at, for a particular movement. And, in terms of a left turn from 56 onto Meadowlark, the signal will recognize how many vehicles are there and how much time to allocate to that turn. And so you don't get any, big queues that extend, beyond the length of the storage lane. You can, assign a certain amount of time when the signal will to clear that queue. Similarly with the pedestrian, it's all going to be activated. So when a pedestrian comes to the signal, just has to push the button, and they'll get quite a bit of time to be able to make this very safe crossing. Right now, we're looking at something like 3.6 seconds per foot and 3.6 feet per second, which is pretty slow. So you can get a wheelchair across in good time for anybody that's disabled, elderly, that needs to walk slowly. There's time for them to cross.
So, and in the package, the traffic has been analyzed, I can see. Is it correct that in 2025 AM total, I see roughly 350 cars coming from
Meadowlark.
Well, and let's say MD.
Yeah.
So is it correct? What I see the estimate would be roughly 300 cars per morning. That looks very small to me.
Let me look at my graph.
Thank you. I don't see a page here. So it's for 25, and then PM would be roughly much less, which is yeah, okay.
Yeah, I mean, with those numbers are close. They're about 300. We're looking at maybe 268 left turns in the PM peak hour. And this is a full development. We're looking at 20 years from now.
But is it including the new grocery store or excluding the grocery store?
No, it's all included. Everything's included.
Included in the sense of a
In there, a 25,000 foot grocery store. We have restaurants, probably 2 or 3 restaurants that we put in there. Strip retail, which is your telephone stores or pizza stores and things like that go into a single building as a strip retail. So we try to put in the maximum generating type of uses, so that we're kind of got our bases covered, if you will.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so to this end, I think that it would be useful to have, Anne, if you don't mind, to reiterate the recommendations from staff on the timing. And then we can have the applicant respond to those recommendations so we can get a sense of where those might fit into our approval of the final plat. Does that sound okay to you, Anne?
Sure, thank you.
Yeah.
So right now, there are 3 recommendations prior to recording the plat. And as the applicant stated, they have up until the mid-afternoon, early afternoon, they've provided information to review, for staff to review, in order to determine if those conditions have been met or not, but they have provided information. So one is a development agreement that we started on, a month or so ago. And there will be timing in that based upon this hearing, based on information that NOAA is providing. Thank you, Lauren. NOAA is providing. We will be taking a look at all of those conditions and what is the best timing. And then the applicant has to agree to that, and then we get to a point where we're all in agreement, and then that development agreement is executed by the town administrator and the applicant. So then the other item is the entry treatment. And Terry has been working with the sign company on standards for the signs, and it just once we get it to a point where we feel as if that it meets the intent, then we will also get that to the town administrator, who will have the final say on that. The applicant shall submit the suggested locally available sod mix for approval. A lot of developers just say, we're gonna do a locally available sod mix. And we're wanting to start working on that a little, refining that mix a little bit more, because we're getting a lot of complaints from the public that the dryland grass species that developers are using is not attractive. So we're gonna work with the applicant and Northern Colorado Water Conservancy District, Frank Kinder and other staff have indicated that they would help the town come up with good selections of some turf alternatives, but still look attractive. So those are some things we want to do prior to recording the plat, because then that way the applicant knows, here are the expectations, this is what they're going to do, this is then how they can go out to bid and get all of that taken care of. Prior to the pre-construction meeting, so this would happen very quickly, it sounds like, if they're wanting to be out there in mid-April, that they have to provide evidence that there is an agreement with the Welch Lateral addressing comments in the referral letter from January 13th, 2022. So the Welch Lateral said that there are some things that they want to have happen. The town is not going to put a Welch Lateral condition in our development agreement, so the applicant is going to need to work out that agreement, but that's prior to the pre-construction meeting. And then prior to substantial completion, we are wanting to see that the developer, and again, this isn't substantial completion, the build out of the subdivision, this is just substantial completion of the infrastructure for the developer standpoint. So it's the roads, it's the all the utilities. That they provide a copy of the right-of-way dedication or donation of land to Colorado Department of Transportation that is required to complete the ADA ramp on the northeast corner of Mountain and Meadowlark Avenues. So that's not that they have to have that ramp installed, but that's that they're proving that they have the right to install it. And then in the development agreement, it will have the timing of that. And I have that potential condition written out here, and I'll just pass it down to whomever, if you decide that that's something that you can support, that condition can be read with the motion, that you just add that in there.
And that developer, that's a different developer on the northeast corner.
The development on the northeast corner is a different development, however, this development is triggering the need to have it. So they need to then go and get it in order to build what they're triggering the need for. And then the next item then,
Do you have a comment? Sorry, I just don't wanna interrupt Anne's thought.
So-
And, sorry, go
so
ahead.
yeah, so then the next items then are the development standards. So again, these are just notes that indicate how the development is going to operate. One of the items is, first thing, their vesting rights. This is giving the developer the right to do what's in these plans and what's being approved. The next item is project approval. Should they make any changes, they might have to come back. These are just standard, it's like standard operating procedures. And we're going to start putting all of these on all developments. And in the past few months, you've seen some development standards. These are just more that are specific, and it gives kind of a good template or a guidebook for future owners of lots in this development on what the town's expectations are, so there are no surprises.
When we put development standards in the approval, the motion, it covers all this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep, so you'll capture that.
And so just going forward, when we see additional final plats, will this continue to be a recommendation
Yes.
associated with the
Yep.
approval? Okay.
Yep, so the items that are different than uses by special review or plating are these prior tos.
Prior tos, okay.
Yep, and those are things that just aren't done today.
Yeah.
And the developer was anxious to get to before you.
Yes.
And so we decided that we'd put these conditions in so that they could still proceed forward with their hearing, but there's still outstanding items that have yet to be addressed. But these outstanding items are not detrimental to the development. It's not like the applicant is refusing to provide a landscape plan. They have, it's just there's a component that we need to further refine.
So would you, as the applicant, like to make a comment regarding these conditions prior to recording the plat and prior to the construction meeting? I think Anne highlighted the key points, but was there anything in these recommendations that you disagreed with or felt was unreasonable in the timeline that you're looking for?
There is.
Okay, would you like to elaborate, please?
Out of the first two choices, just an add-on. So, so just to finish up on a couple of those things real quick, well, we'll just stick with this. And are we able to put that Welch part onto the same conditions, since they're both tied in the same thing?
According to our utilities director, he's saying no. And NOAA, he wants it to remain as is.
Okay. It's not a hard thing to fix, it's only getting to them, So, okay, then I'm good with that, I'm good with that.
Okay.
Okay. Ready?
And thank you for your patience. This is more complex than the typical final plat, given these prior two conditions.
Well,
And so,
and I know that the traffic thing is not in our scope tonight, but it is a sensitivity to us as well. Well, I think you've heard from 3 or 4 different people on the different traffic studies that have gone on and updated and re-updated, that we've been addressing it and very conscious about it, so,
thank you.
all right.
And one more point of clarification for staff is that I see the additional condition includes the ADA ramp, but I believe there was also discussion of having a signal condition, like prior to 50% of build out, and I'm not sure based on my recollection of the discussion if it was 50% build out of the infrastructure or the development as a whole. am I misremembering, or maybe there's someone that can provide additional context for that? I think it was Noah who the 50% number came from.
Yes, so that is in the traffic impact study, that prior to 50% of build out, that 3 triggers or 3 warrants, and Noah, why don't you just go ahead and say what it is?
And be specific about the build out of the infrastructure versus all commercial buildings.
Right, and I'm just gonna jump in, because interruption is one thing unfortunately that I do a lot of. But I believe it was Commissioner Anderson who mentioned the planning commission could make the installation of the lighting a condition of approval. I just want to remind you all that that needs to be based on a rational nexus of the event that's going to trigger that need. And so Noah can talk about that, and usually the timing of the installation of infrastructure is usually in that development agreement, because again, that development agreement is a commitment that the developer makes to when they're installing, you know, the improvements. And that's then an agreement, and they have to put up a construction bond for all of those items so that we make sure that they're being installed according to the plans. And now I promise I will be quiet and let Noah talk.
Yeah, so in John's study, there were 3 scenarios that he looked at. Existing conditions, which I mentioned, there is no trigger. Future conditions with the residential only, at which point it's closely approaching needing 1 warrant. And then as he looked at the third scenario, my understanding is there are 3 warrants that are met, 3 volume warrants that are met. Warrant 1 would be an 8-hour warrant. Warrant 2 would be a 4-hour warrant, and warrant 3 would be the peak hour warrant, which are met at the time that 50% commercial is built out.
Okay. Thank you for that clarification, and maybe I'm the only one that's still confused, but what can the planning commission do tonight to support that recommendation that would not already be covered in the development standards?
Can we, as you said earlier, this is Commissioner Anderson, could we direct staff to put that in the development plan? The latest that lighting could be installed would be at 50% commercial build out.
Staff,
Yes.
is that a possibility?
Yeah, you can direct staff, and it wouldn't necessarily have to be, it could be part of your motion, but it wouldn't have to be like a note on the plat or anything. It could just be that planning commission directs staff to place in the development agreement that prior to 50% build out, that light will go in, and that you give staff the authority to negotiate that timing based on the data that's in the traffic impact study. But that no later will it occur at that point in time.
What I would also add to what Ann said is each time an applicant comes in with a site development plan, we ask them to give us a traffic letter. And that traffic letter speaks to what portion of the volume of the total that they are projecting. So that also gives us a good indication as to, you know, where they stand in terms of meeting that 50% of the overall volume. And then we can determine when the triggers are getting close to being met.
So Noah, then what are you suggesting there that happen as far as our direction?
You know, so what I'm saying is the 50% volume in the development agreement makes a lot of sense. My concern would be an example of, let's say you get like an In-N-Out burger. We all know that, you know, that's gonna generate a ton of traffic. So looking at what kind of use is being proposed within that 50% to determine when we feel that 50% is coming close to being met.
Okay, I get what you're saying. You're saying
50% by volume, not.
Keeping in mind the type of uses that are coming in for site development plan.
so keep in mind that you may have to use your discretion based on the type of use.
Yes, correct.
And we could quantify what that 50% is based on the title, the name, that whoever produced that original traffic impact study, we would quote what that volume is. And then we would state that when the next development comes in at that 50% volume, that's when the lighting would need to occur, once that's tipped. Or it wouldn't have to be 50%, perhaps you wanna say at 25% or some number in between that Noah can come up with when he believes that event is triggered, fully triggered.
Can I recap this just real quick, what I heard? So if we were to include in the motion, the commission directs staff to include in the development plan prior to 50% build out a traffic lights installed. Is it that simple?
Not 50% of build out, but 50% of the projected volume found in the traffic impact study included with the final plat.
That word's key.
That at a minimum, that is the latest it would occur.
Terry,
And-
you got that?
How would the town determine that, just for some additional context, because I think that would raise some concerns of it being like subjective and the town having a lot of power to determine when that would actually happen.
So Noah, will you describe the site plan or the special use permit process again and those traffic letters that would be required and how we would tally that?
Yeah, so Aldridge Transportation has created a master study for this overall commercial area. As individual pad users come in, we will have them provide us with a trip generation letter, traffic letter that speaks to the portion of the volume that they're taking. If there's a case where we get toward the middle or the end of this and there seems to be a huge departure from what John projected to what's actually happening, we may actually have them create a brand new study. But just keep in mind, as the site development plan comes in for each of these parcels, we're looking at that traffic volume to see if it's in compliance with what was projected.
Based on the additional site plan studies that are provided with each site, okay.
So this is Karen, and I just wanna make sure I understand. So in other words, as you have a new build or site plan happen, you'll have a letter, a traffic study letter, so you'll have something objective as you're evaluating whether they hit whatever that standard is for the lights go in.
Correct.
Okay, I think that the commission should take a moment to process this and maybe bring up any points in favor of or against this kind of addition to the recommendations.
If it's not done in this motion, would it be done anywhere else?
Yeah, that's my question.
Yeah, but
Well-
that would be done in a special,
The final plat that we're seeing tonight will not go to the Board of Trustees, so this is kind of the end point for this phase. And then, from my understanding, each of the individual sites will be assessed in terms of their traffic, and there will be what is it called? Development standards that incorporate this traffic information, but I don't think it has this firm of language of triggers for the stoplight.
There will be a development agreement, and that development agreement will accompany the plat and the staff report. And that development agreement will state the applicant is making a commitment to put in water and sewer and stormwater and some landscaping along Mountain and Meadowlark. The applicant is also making a commitment to install this off-site traffic signal. And there will be approximate dates. There is a budget. The budget has to be substantiated with engineers' estimates. And all of that goes into this development agreement, and the town says, yes, we accept this estimate of development performance, the developer will produce a bond or letter of credit or put up cash. I'm sure you'll do that. Put up cash to match the amount of the improvements that are needed in the development. And then if the developer, let's say the developer doesn't perform within a certain period of time, the town can call on that surety, and then the town would go in and complete the developments. So that agreement, again, is a commitment that the developer is making to the town. What we have found is there was a period in time where the town did not do development agreements, and there was no leverage for the town to call on the commitment. And that's a problem that the town has encountered, and so the town made a decision to go back to development agreements because again, that memorializes the commitment that's being made to the citizens of Berthoud.
So it sounds like it's captured in the development agreement.
And if you want it, I'm trying to pen a draft motion here to add to your motion to direct staff to require the signalized intersection before 50% volume is anticipated. And I'm trying to capture that, and we'll want Noah to take a.
But if it's in the development agreement, why do we need it stated in the motion, since the development agreement is given in the motion?
What you could state right now, and after I make this statement, you can say yes or no, and I can repeat it when you get to making your motion, is that you want to direct staff to go ahead and have a triggering event in the development agreement for that signalized intersection. And then staff will work on that with the applicant for that particular trigger. And you just want it on the record that you want it to be reflected in the development agreement, but you don't have to decide on the percentage or anything like that.
Yeah.
You just want it memorialized that that's what you want staff to do.
I think that sounds more reasonable. Does that meet
Right.
your concerns? Cause yeah, I don't wanna.
I think it's captured, but
Yeah.
I guess going forward, we go with just maybe a little more detail then in the development.
Yeah,
Well, I think,
And then it's captured.
I just wanna reflect the concerns of the public testimony that even though it would happen eventually, it maybe wouldn't happen soon enough to really like provide a sense of safety in that environment.
And if I may, so these are overall development standards such as they shall meet dark sky requirements, they shall do, landscape, that the north landscape will be done at the final stage of the multifamily development. They'll have to put that in, that the individual lot owners are responsible for the tree lawns because we don't know where those curb cuts are going to occur. These are very big picture items on how it's going to develop. The development agreement itself is a separate document and we'll get into the nitty-gritty on here's the cost breakdown, here's that commitment. And sometimes in development agreements, the town has to make a commitment as well to do something. On this one, we don't have to, but sometimes that does occur. So I just wanna make sure these are development standards that will go on the plat. There's another development agreement that's a separate contract between the developer and the town.
And this is Karen, and I kind of agree with that, that I think it makes sense for us to, in the motion, say something about directing staff about a triggering event for the lights. I think that's a very big deal to, I think, the citizens of our town right now, and I think they need to know that we understand that, and that we would ask that be an integral part of the agreement.
And when you speak about 50% of the potential traffic, what does it mean in terms of volume? So, because I have a question maybe for Noah, in the analysis that is coming from Aldridge Transportation Consultants, every pages, I go to the summary with the drawing, does it represent the flow per hour or a midday, half of a day?
And I apologize, I don't have the study in front of me, I think John is still available if you have questions.
What we do is look at the peak hour, so any hour between 7 and 9 in the morning, and then 4 and 6 in the afternoon.
Okay, and
Look at peak, I mean, that's the standard, if you will.
I understand, but is it the traffic per hour or for the entire half of a day?
No, it's a traffic by for the hour,
During the peak time.
peak time.
Peak time, 1 hour. So when you say there's let's say 300 cars crossing the potential red light, it's in an hour.
Correct.
Okay.
And in the condition that we're discussing, we're moving away from dictating a percentage and determining to let staff work with the applicant to determine the threshold of the trigger. Does that anyone have a response or questions about that? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I will add, this
Yeah.
study is a year old and it was before the bike park was installed, so, might also be important to get updated traffic numbers.
And I do see that both the applicant and members of the public are wishing to give additional testimony. Unfortunately, the public testimony section of the meeting is
What
closed.
about Ludlow Farms? What about Vantage? What about all the other things you guys are building? Is that study including this?
I'm sorry, I do ask that you be respectful of the,
It does
yeah.
include development in surrounding areas.
Thank you. Okay,
So another question then, are these numbers going the basis to calculate the 50%?
yes.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, before we move on to further discussion and proposals of a motion, I did have one question for staff regarding traffic further down Meadowlark. And there was some concern expressed over the speed limit on Meadowlark heading towards the bike park. And I had a question regarding whether it would be within the town's control to put in signage and speed bumps and kind of like speed limitations, or if that is something that is the responsibility of CDOT or the developer, who does that?
Right, so as a part of the impact of this development or any development, if they are causing an off-site impact, the developer that is causing the impact, they are responsible for on-site and off-site improvements. And Noah, I'm going to ask you to make any comment that you can on speed, off-site improvements on Meadowlark, such as the speed bumps, the decrease of speed, if any of that was considered in the review, and if it was, what the outcome of that review was.
So I know speed limits weren't a factor in the study, but what I would say is, as a government entity, Berkeley has the ability to post speed limits in those residential areas. And so, if that's something that is an issue, I would bring that to the folks that could post those speed signs. It's within your purview.
And something that would require construction in that area, such as like divots or speed bumps, is that within the town's control?
Yeah, so for something like that, I would probably involve Public Works because, that obviously impacts street plowing and those sorts of things, so that would be probably a larger discussion for Public Works.
Yeah, and I think, to be honest, that, this will not change the situation north of MD Drive. Past the new development, the status will be the same, you know, there won't be more traffic because of this development. The traffic is that you mentioned is coming from Burton Bike Park, so probably that's a separate issue.
Separate issue.
Yeah.
Okay. Do any of the commissioners have additional comments or questions they wanna raise? Okay, I would entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, if I may, just a point of order, I
Yes.
believe the applicant needs to be able to discuss anything heard in the public testimony.
Great. Okay, so I will give the applicant opportunity to respond if you would like.
Well, I don't know if I need to or not. At this point, this has been a long discussion about traffic. Again, it's not even part of our scope of work tonight, and we've got all kinds of reports that tell us what we need, when we need it, and how we need it. You know, and I'm choosing not to agree with them, you know? So, but I would like to hear the reading of how you're gonna read that other condition, please, if I may, just to make sure that after all this, we're all on the same page. Is that fair?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Alright, so Planning Commission directs staff to require the installation of the signalized intersection at Mountain Avenue and Meadowlark Avenue prior to when 50% of the estimated traffic volume found in the Aldridge Traffic Impact Study submitted with this final plat application is met.
See, I don't agree with that. And I thought we already decided that we weren't gonna base it on any percentages or anything. Didn't you just say that, Ann? And we don't know, you talk about Noah's idea of In-N-Out Burger, but it could be a bank that has no traffic. So we were gonna do it based on the volume, right? Am I missing that?
No, and that's what it's based on,
Yeah.
but at 50%,
Prior to 50%.
prior to, at
And what's
50,
prior?
4999.
that's what we're
Visual
going to
code
work
correction.
out.
In the development agreement.
In the development agreement, so this, what Commissioner Semadalis just read is that staff is going to put in the development agreement a timing that before 50% of the volume that's in the Aldridge study is met, that's when the signal needs to go in. And it's based on volume, but 50% is the trigger on when it's overdue. And so we can't say 75% because then it's way overdue. 50% is when it's overdue. And so before we get to that 50%, you, the developer, and staff are gonna negotiate what that number is, and that will be in the development agreement.
And then staff will determine that percentage. As you said in your call.
Yeah, and so and
It's a moving
based,
target, you know?
yeah, but and it's based on a study that has been made in 21 or 2020.
Yeah, Noah, what is your thought about just
the-
updating background traffic?
I mean, if you update background traffic, you might actually find that it meets the warrants now, because, I mean, in John's analysis, it was very close to meeting the 4-hour warrant just with the residential built out.
You only have to meet one more.
You only have to meet one, correct?
So I would recommend that planning commission direct staff to work with the applicant on when that warrant is met. And we may have to do an updated background traffic study in order to come up with what that number is. But I think we need to leave it to the engineering experts that know when that warrant is triggered.
It's a serious economic point too. I mean, those stoplights are over $1 million. You know, I'd like to sell a couple lots before I had to come up with that, you know. But I'm good with that. Madam?
I understand your concern, I think it's a good point.
Excuse me, Brett?
I understand your concern, I think I think you're a little in the gray out there by could be 1%, cause that's less than 50, so I understand where your concern is coming from.
It is, thank you. Okey-doke.
Thank you. Okay. I would now entertain a motion.
So would we do?
Yeah, so this, if you're wanting, so in, just for the members of the audience, that planning commissioners are provided with sample motions. One is for approval and one is for denial. So if you were wanting to make a motion for approval, you would read something like this is a sample, along with that additional item in red that's right there.
That's for the ramp.
Yeah, that's for the ramp.
Okay.
And then Terry has captured the discussion regarding that. And it will be in the audio as well, and we will capture your direction. You could go ahead and make that motion, just knowing that Noah, myself, other members of the team and the developer will work on what that looks like.
Okay, so as I go through this, I'm gonna go through this, incorporate this, and then I leave this out for now.
You could add that in.
Oh, add that in.
Add that back
Ooh, that's
in,
gonna
but
be a
that's
long
not going to be a condition.
Right.
That's just your telling staff, this is how you want staff to perform.
Okay, so the motion's pretty much right here.
Yep.
Okay.
And that's, you have to make the decision. There are two samples, one for approval, one for denial. You have to make the determination on how you wanna vote.
And once he makes a motion, we'll also ask for a second.
Okay. I move to approve the final plat application for West Side Crossing, replat number 2 with the conditions of approval and development standards found in the staff report to be recorded with resolution 2024-04. As the criteria for approval outlined in the staff report and resolution have been satisfied. Prior to substantial completion, the developer shall provide a copy of the right-of-way dedication/donation of land to the Colorado Department of Transportation that is required to complete the ADA ramp at the northeast corner of Mountain and Meadowlark Avenues. And then do I go on to this here? Okay. Also, the Planning Commission directs staff to require the installation of the signalized intersection at the Mountain Avenue and Meadowlark Avenue prior to when 50% of the estimated traffic volume is found in the Aldridge Traffic Impact Study submitted with this final plat application is met. Staff shall determine this percentage in the development agreement.
Agreed.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. We'll now take a vote.
Commissioner Hoffman,
Yes.
Commissioner Donnelly,
Yes.
Commissioner Semadalis,
Yes.
Commissioner Wing,
Yes.
Vice Chair Smith,
Yes.
Chairperson Anderson.
Yes.
Okay, the motion passes. Congratulations. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
All right, it's been a long journey, thank you, everybody, and.
That was easy.
I didn't hear what she said.
She just said it was a brilliant motion that Commissioner Semadalis made.
By Ann.
And thank you very much to staff and Baseline for all of their input, and thank you very much to the members of the public who gave their testimony. We greatly appreciate your input as well.
Most of you guys here are your design engineer guys, so they're the ones that make it look pretty.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is report by staff.
Thank you guys, thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lauren, thank you, Noah. And Karen, we're so happy that you're safe and that you were able to join us outside of a parking lot.
Thank you. Yeah, and I don't know if you all know, last night we couldn't even get a hotel, so we had to sleep in our car.
Oh no.
Oh my gosh.
I'm so glad you're okay.
I don't recommend it.
Oh gosh.
Depending on the car.
Well, this evening, we have a guest with us that you don't recognize. This is Lakin Dixon. And Lakin, would you like to give a little history on why you're here?
Yes, so I recently applied to a master's program in urban planning. And so I reached out to Anne to get a little bit more background and experience on the matter, yeah.
Welcome.
Congrats, that's awesome. At any particular school?
Yes, I'm looking towards CU Denver, so I
Great.
was recently accepted there. I'll most likely be accepting,
Great.
yeah.
Very good.
And then moving on, then Commissioner John Van Bentham, unfortunately, so maybe you all can call him and see if he would reconsider his immediate resignation.
He's an awesome guy.
I know,
Yeah,
yep,
it's a
so
bummer.
we hate to lose him and his good insight, especially when it comes to, you know, aesthetics and design and everything that he brings to the table. So he did not say no one could call him.
Can you give us his number or not?
Another thing that we're going to talk about here is just terms. So I'm going to pass out this sheet and it happens to have names, email addresses, and when your term started and when the term ends, because we do have a vacancy now, unless your phone call or email campaigns work. And our next vacancy would be May 24th because Commissioner Wing was appointed to, I think, fill an appointment to the Town Board of Trustees.
Ooh.
And so he's filling that position when somebody was appointed. And so Commissioner Wing, you were appointed in 2022, and the vacancy that you were filling, that term expires in May of 24. So, you know, you are welcome to reapply, depending on what is in your future and what your plans are. And so I'm just going to pass this out. Another 24 expiration is Karen Anderson's term is up in September of 24. So knowing that we have an immediate vacancy, I did let the town clerk know, and the clerk, you know, we'll just see who they get. And I'm gonna pass this down. And again, emails are on that list. You do with that what you want, and just be aware of the terms. So we might want to, you know, just have interviews for, you know, Commissioner Van Bentham's position now, and then see who we get and for any other vacancies that may or may not be coming up. This Saturday,
His name's not on here, right? Or his email
right,
address?
he's a big blank.
Okay.
This Saturday is your field trip, and Terry has been working really hard at preparing a wonderful agenda. We have been out, staff has been out at least 3 times, driving the route, making sure we understand where the best stops are, which subdivisions are going to be the best for you to actually get out and take a little look. It is a very aggressive schedule with 1, 2, 3,
No
4,
dilly-dallying.
5, 6,
That's
7,
just
8,
saying.
9. Yeah, 9 stops between Windsor, Fort Collins, and Loveland. We're going to be taking a look at density, setbacks, mature landscaping, alleys, all of those great features. We're also going to do a quick drive-through a commercial subdivision that did not have a unified architectural plan, so that you could see kind of what that difference is. And then we were going to be driving through a commercial subdivision just by chance that does have a unified concept and reuse of historic agricultural buildings as part of that. So we're gonna be doing that. Terry has a great packet prepared for you all that has an aerial view, an area for maps, the schedule.
We meet
Terry,
here-
can you tell us about our mode of transportation?
We are
Do we meet here
taking
at 9, is that correct?
9 a.m. We were leaving at 9 a.m.
Okay.
sharp.
Good.
No stragglers. And we'll be using the BATS bus, the Berthoud Area Transportation. So none of us have to drive. We'll have a driver and she will take us where we need to go and
Great.
Awesome.
Thank you so much
Thank
for
you,
all of
Terry.
your hard work.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you.
Terry?
Yep, Terry's been wonderful getting it organized for us, and we will have some snacks.
Okay.
And so, you know, some road trip snacks, so get ready and we're gonna have a great time. We hope to be back by 1. If by chance you just aren't fast enough and I'm not back there saying, come on, let's go, quick look here, quick look there, come on. We'll be back sometime after 1.
Yeah.
So, but just wanted you all to know, and again, be here before 9, because if you're not here, we're leaving.
Okay. You know what? I was here 10 days ago, you know, because
Oh no.
yeah. I was
Because
at
they're
9,
remote.
but it was cancelled, you know, it was my fault. I was ready here, 10 to 9, and I said, there's no one coming here. Well,
Oh,
maybe.
Oh, no.
Well, I'm not far away, and yeah.
Well, I'm glad that you practiced being
Yeah.
on time.
A trial run.
So we'll expect you to be nice and early.
Yes. No. Yeah.
On March 12th, the town board of trustees heard their second reading of the sign code. When ordinances like that go to the town board of trustees, the first night you introduce into the public record that this is what you're doing. And then the second reading is the full reading. And that occurred on Tuesday evening of this week. And the board did approve the sign code with some modifications from your recommendation. The first modification is that you had recommended that banners be 32 square feet in size. Right now in the code, they're 60 feet. And the town board said that they wanna stick with 60 feet for banner size. You all recommended that banners can be up 2 times a year for 30 days each occurrence of a banner. The town board of trustees decided to go down to 4 times a year, and the banner can only be up for 15 days.
Versus.
Versus 2 times a year, 30 days. So it's going to be a little bit more heavy on staff to monitor that, but all banners moving forward are actually gonna go through a permit process. So Terry will be regulating that. She's really excited about it.
I bet she is.
Yep. And then the other item that they changed is that the signs that you find that were called sandwich board signs, they changed the term to a sidewalk sign, and rather than prohibiting plastic frames, they've said that sidewalk signs can be all plastic.
Weighted down.
They can be weighted, they can just be all plastic, they don't have to be
Are there dimensions for those? Are there specifics?
there are details in the
Okay,
sign
okay,
code,
okay.
yeah, yep. So those are the changes, but other than that, they, good job on that. On the 26th, Ton Hillenbrand, the senior planner, will be giving a presentation to the town board of trustees on short-term rentals. That has been a hot topic, and there will be hearings before the town board on short-term rentals coming up. On a planning commission, on the 28th, there will be one hearing, and this will be the first time in a long time that the planning commission will put on their board of adjustment hats. You will not be acting as planning commission that evening. You will be acting in your role as a board of adjustment, and there will be a variance request. So that's coming before you, and that will be first on the agenda. Then when the board of adjustment closes or concludes your meeting, then planning commission will come. You'll take that hat off and put the other hat on, and Tammy Tanui Tanoy with thank you, with Sursa is going to be here, and it's gonna be kind of like an open mic night. But one of the items that we're going to ask her to give you some specific suggestions on and discussion will be, how do you handle controversial meetings? And tonight you did a really good job with the reminding, no public discussion and being respectful and all of that. But as Berthoud continues to grow, there will be more contentious land use hearings, and we just thought that it would be good timing to have a work session where we can all talk freely amongst ourselves about, the do's and don'ts and tips and tricks for those contentious land use hearings. And then so that's on the 28th. And you'll get packets the same way that Terry does a stellar job at getting you packets. And then on April 11th, there are some land use hearings planned. A lot of the development review, we have about 24 applications that are in development review right now, and they're getting to a point where they're ready to come to you. So you will start seeing more activities, and there's more code work also in the pipeline.
So, and then you anticipate that we'll probably be meeting more frequently than we have in the last few months.
Yes. I have a cheat sheet here, I call it my pacifier. Yeah, potentially 2 applications on the 4th or on April 11th. Potentially 1 on May 9th. There will be no planning commission on April 25th. So 2 in April, 1 coming up the end of March with some good conversation with Sursa. 2 hearings on the 11th of April, no meeting on the 25th. Potentially 1 on the 9th of May. And we don't know yet for the May 23rd. So that's, the jury's out on that one.
Do we have any more code revisions? Those are so great.
I know, aren't they fun? Right now, we have some minor cleanup carry forward that were just items in the comprehensive plan, such as protecting view sheds of lakes and protecting water bodies that are in the comprehensive plan that didn't fully get integrated into our land use plan. It might honestly be 5 pages instead of 50 or 60 that you're accustomed to. So that will be coming, and then after that, the next major change is short-term rentals, but that just goes to the town board of trustees. The town board of trustees is considering some pretty big changes to the oil and gas code right now, and that will go to them. And then accessory structures will come to you all mid-year. And then there's just a whole bunch of code cleanup that we're finding discrepancies, like in a table will have some standard one way, but the narrative will have it another way. And so we're cleaning that up. We're taking a look at the land use table now as well, because there are discrepancies there. Plus there are just some oddities that we want to clean up because we think that they're just oddities. So that will be coming to you, but not the bulk that you saw at the end of last year. We're hoping not to do that again, because that's also really rough on staff.
Well, and speaking of code things, I forgot to mention this earlier. Did you notice in your resolution that you had a typo?
Are you serious?
Yeah. Look on page 2 under 4AI. It's Highway 287.
Oh, I pointed that out.
Oh, yes, we caught that, yeah, Commissioner Semadalis pointed that out. And before, so we will bring that corrected resolution to you with Highway not 2897 to you, to execute with the full recommendations and everything on the 28th. And you will do that formal signing then, but thank you. You know, I try to be really careful, and I know Terry also reads my work and Ton reads my work. We're all always reading each other's work to make sure, and that, you know, we just throw those in there because we really want to make sure you all are paying attention.
Yeah, and Karen had a lot of time to read in the car yesterday.
Yeah, so good job.
No, I do this kind of stuff too, and I can read my own stuff 10 times and not find someone, but it's just too much in my head,
Yeah.
so I get it.
Yeah, no, and thank you all for being forgiving. I always have misspellings and I do apologize and try to aim for perfection, but I just don't hit it.
Got news for you, Dolan.
Okay. And so is that the end of the staff report?
That is the end of the staff report.
Okay, any commissioner reports? We can start at this end, Commissioner Donnelly.
I guess I mentioned it earlier, but it is something that I've been concerned about, is just the traffic on Mountain Avenue and 287 and how fast the cars come through there, and it's a higher volume. And I don't know what the planning commission can do to address that, but it's certainly something that I think some of the public comments are very relative, that the more and more development we get, eventually that intersection is something needs to happen there.
You said at 287 in Mountain?
On Highway 56 and 287.
There has been some discussion, Town Administrator Kirk has it came up, and I'm sorry, I wasn't paying 100% attention during the discussion with the Town Board of Trustees, but we are aware that there's a lot of speeding on 287 in that stretch. And I believe the sheriff or CDOT or somebody was looking into how can we slow that down.
And I guess the other comment I'd make is 287 as it goes through Loveland and as it goes through Longmont and every other city it goes through, the speed limit drops down to 35. But somehow it's still 65, I think, through Berthoud. And you know, especially as these developments keep encroaching closer and closer, I don't know if there's a way we could advocate with CDOT to drop the speed limit down. And it's really between Berthoud Parkway and those two lights, I feel like are dangerous.
Yep, I'll bring a notice up to them that you have expressed concerns as well.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought there was a study being done by CDOT about 287. At least I remember something like that from about a year ago.
I will find out and I'll bring it back to you all, what the answer is.
Thanks. Any reports?
Nope.
All right, me neither. Commissioner Wing?
So there was a town forum, I think last week, for candidates for Board of Trustees. And one of the comments made by one of the audience was he asked adamantly that there not be conflict and unprofessionalism among future board trustees. So it sounds like there's some history there of there being some really serious conflict. And I just said that this group is so professional, and I just really appreciate the relationship we've had, both with the new people and people who've come before. There's just a lot of respect among people and professionalism, and I think that really shows through on this group. So I had one of our fellow members there with me, and he concurred.
Stay with us.
We're gonna try to keep you.
And then
You're staying with us?
and then
Yeah,
and
we agree with you. You gotta stay with us, yes.
So anyhow, I appreciate that with our group. Having said that, no, you did a great job tonight, and this is so certainly absolutely totally no reflection on you. we've talked about a lot of neighborhoods before and big neighborhoods with a lot of houses coming in. I never remember the dialogue happening like this about traffic, and certainly there would be issues with traffic. Tonight felt clumsy to me, and that has nothing to do with you and nothing to do with you. And I don't know if you guys concur or not, but it felt like we were a little bit going in circles. Was it really relevant to what we really wanted to do? Perhaps it was, there was some clarification, but boy, it felt like that really, really, really continued on. And I always think about what's their perception of
Yeah.
us.
Mm.
And, you don't wanna air dirty laundry, you don't wanna just go on and
Yeah.
on. But I don't know the solution, but I had that feeling.
I think the main issue was coming from the fact that if we agree with this, then the traffic will come and we have no control on that. So, and I understand the reaction of the audience saying, I'm living there. There's gonna be lots of queues here waiting to turn right or left, whatever. So the concern, and at least my concern in this is that, okay, we're gonna say yes to that, but then we're gonna have the consequences. And that's a little bit what generated, I think, a lot of discussion around. And also, I was looking at the numbers, and the numbers are probably old now. And we tried to determine a threshold, which was 50%, but based on what? And that's probably what created
One thing I would say about that is, and this is my third, as you probably know, it's my third planning commission. I will tell you that it's one of the things I learned was it's really important to make sure you address what the concerns of the citizens are. And while we can't necessarily, within the scope of what our authority is, solve every problem, if we need to show that we're listening.
Yeah.
We need to show that we want to answer their questions, and sometimes that may take us a little off track. It's just how far off track we go. And I think Abigail, you did a good job of not letting us go too far off track.
Thanks, Karen. And yeah, I think to that point, I think if we're still, we've been hearing traffic concerns throughout all 4 years of this process. And so I think if we're still hearing it at the final plat stage, that means something. And that is something that we have to acknowledge and address in any capacity that we have within the scope of our responsibilities. And I will also say that this particular application, it was unique in that it came before us with conditions prior to platting and prior to construction, which I've never seen that before. And so we had so many more details to work through this than in a normal final plat that it really convoluted it.
So do you think there's a way to get out in front of that in our process, to have it
Well-
covered? Or do you feel this was an anomaly and there wasn't
I think
a
Anne
way?
can speak to that.
And before you say that, let me defend the staff in this sense.
Yeah.
Because I've been on 3 planning commissions, I will tell you that when I read certain types of things, I can almost tell that there's being some push here, someone needs to move faster for some reason. And so I think that's what we were dealing with here, so it made it more complicated for us.
Yes. Would you agree with that
So-
characterization?
Yes, so there are times where this final plat it's taken less than 6 months to go through the development review process. And I would say for a squeaky clean final plat, it usually takes about 8 to 9 months. We're approaching construction season, and this particular developer was very anxious to come before you. So staff agreed that we would bring the application before you with conditions of approval because the application that we had was not squeaky clean. There are very minor things such as the seed mix. You're not going to, it's not gonna matter to you what the seed mix is, as long as we get support from, landscape designers, some folks that are giving us good ideas for a better seed mix. The other conditions of approval, if we didn't have them, they aren't detrimental to the development. However, the town staff is trying to hold developers accountable to their commitments to the town. And in the recent past, the town again went away from development agreements. I'm gonna move this so I can see you. Went away from having development agreements because we just finished one that took us over a year, and we just finished it. It was signed today. They take a lot of time, they're expensive, they take a lot of negotiations, especially on the really big complex ones. However, it is a method in which the town has to hold the developers accountable. We have an amazing code. Our land use code is tremendous. It says if you want to develop in Berthoud, you shall do X, Y, and Z. However, we don't have a way then, if somebody walks away from a project, we don't have necessarily teeth. And development agreements, sure, they could still walk away too, but at least we would have a surety or a warranty. And we were getting those sureties and warranties without the development agreements. This is just a way to be expressly clear what our expectations are. So we've gone back, and yeah, they're painful as well. We're evaluating it even so on what is the best method of memorializing the commitments that need to be made, and it may change again. But this one was different for two reasons. One is the applicant kept showing the conceptual plan. And I think that conceptual plan muddied the water because there was discussion about specific and land uses.
Yeah.
And that we have no idea about now. There were some that we were talking to, not anything that he brought up tonight. And those we've been told have gone away. And
that's
so
not just, sorry to interrupt, but that's not just confusing to us, but that's confusing to people in the
Mhm.
audience
it
as well.
is,
Yeah.
it is, and it's setting, you're exactly right, because it's setting the expectation that something is coming.
Yeah.
When we've not seen anything, we don't have a commitment, staff is not evaluating this application based on that. And as Noah pointed out, and John pointed out that from Aldridge Traffic, he indicated that they had to take a look at a grocery store, a pizza place, a couple fast food restaurants as generators of high volumes of traffic in order to get the worst case scenario for this subdivision in order to come up with those warranting and triggering events. So a commercial subdivision is a lot, and you haven't seen one of those, is a lot more tricky with the long-term impacts because you can't see, all right, we know there are 5 duplexes and 32 single-family houses. There's more set impacts with a residential development than there are in non-residential. And it is trickier, but I have to really rely on Noah and the baseline team to say, what is the situation? And Noah's right, we might want to, ask for some updated background traffic, because if that one warrant is met, congratulations. You get to do your traffic signal now.
But the things that, the things that were discussed, and I've been the worst, because I I learned a lot, I have a lot of questions, and I like to ask about projects. But, and you brought this up when I started making comments, and I really thought it was relevant. But we were talking, is there a lot of interest in the lots? Irrelevant, right? What are the signs gonna look like? Irrelevant. What's the monument? We did a slide on the monument. Irrelevant. The slide we're seeing now, and one that was in our packet, that's the meat of it all, here it is.
Yeah.
You approve it or do you not? Stormwater, really? I mean, is that part of the dialogue?
It is.
Yes.
It is?
It is,
Yeah.
stormwater is because it's, how is it going to be graded?
Yeah.
And how will we make sure that we are
Okay.
protecting stormwater quality?
Remember, there's gonna be a
So that's-
huge parking over there, so.
No, that's good to know.
Yeah.
The ramps, is that relevant to this, if it's outside the scope of the lines?
So the ADA ramp is relevant but staff caught it.
Okay.
And it's a condition of approval that he has to make a commitment to do it.
So in hindsight, this whole thing around traffic, could we have put some of that in the development agreement and or the document we had here to clarify ahead of time, one sentence? When 50% of the commercial is built out, you will have a traffic light. I mean, in hindsight, would we have had, regardless, we would have had to have gone through this exercise, do
We
we
would
think?
have had to have gone through the exercise for what Commissioner Anderson mentioned, is we
Yes.
have to, the
Talk to the
public
people.
took their time to come out
Yep.
tonight. All of their concerns, Mr. Terrell, the timing of the stoplight, access, the gentleman that I
Yeah.
couldn't understand his last name, very concerned
He's
about
got that big lot right on
traffic,
the
safety,
corner, yeah.
noise. Mr.
Oh, yeah.
Larson, the tree lawn size.
Yeah.
So those things we had, that amount of public testimony, you need to hear that because that is, that goes into part of your deliberation and your decision making. The ADA ramp, that was a last minute comment that we received from CDOT like in the past 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So not knowing that was coming from CDOT before we had the packet in your hands.
Okay.
Because we prepare a packet 10 days before it goes to you. Our packet is circulating internally and then it gets to Terry on Tuesday or Wednesday and then she gets it to you. But if we don't get information from referral agencies in a timely manner, then it comes to you and it does look sloppy, but that's not our intent. We had to that's a safety concern. We had to capture it.
So, yeah, so if I wanna summarize what Brett is saying, we have lost a bit of time on the confusion made by, we thought it was the definitive layout of the lots. That's true. On the other side, I mean, I think the purpose of this commission is to hear the people, what they
Definitely.
have to say. And I can see that, that person, I don't remember it, with the cap, saying, there's gonna be a lot of traffic here, what's gonna happen, so, and I think it's a normal question from the population, the people living in Burton, so that's probably what we have to address in this commission.
Yeah. And believe me, I love meetings that go, we got it all, we're organized, we know what we're doing, but, and we do, your deliberation tonight, I thought was spot on, and your traffic is a big deal, and traffic is, again, he's gonna warrant that expensive stoplight before he wants to. However, a developer has the opportunity that when he is selling those lots, he can tell those individual lot owners, there's 7 lot owners, I'm paying X million dollars for this traffic light. Congratulations, if you wanna buy my lot, part of your sale is going to go to reimburse me.
Yeah.
So I
And-
mean,
and all the
there,
engineering work that he's done and all that
Exactly,
stuff,
exactly.
it's all built into the.
so yeah, it's expensive, but that's also the risk and the price of doing development.
Correct, yes. And again, what I think is that when we decide for this, in fact, we decide for everything. Not the inside layout, but the rest, the traffic and everything, we have to decide right away. That was creating some confusion, I think.
And I concur, I've always, we work for the public,
Yeah.
that's our fiduciary responsibility, so they are our bosses, so absolutely, I
Yeah.
think that's critical. Okay.
And I always think it's like a partnership, because we're part of the citizenry too.
Yes.
So we're part of our job, I think, is to guarantee our fellow citizens who come to testify
Yeah.
that not only are we working in their best interest, but that we are hearing them.
Mhm. Agreed.
And do you give the developers any guidelines on what is pertinent to present as part of their applicant?
We do when they ask for information, and we definitely like to help them. I was taking a lot of notes tonight, like one item that I have here, and Noah did it a little bit tonight. Future staff presentations to include a good summary of the planning, the landscaping and engineering, full summary of the application. And Noah did an intro tonight on what changed from preliminary plat to final plat from an engineering perspective. But I think we could be doing a better job of setting the stage. It's really up to the applicant to make their pitch as well.
Sure.
And we can give applicants guidance, whether they choose to follow it is another story.
Yeah.
Hey, along those same exact lines though, so as you're looking at this, if I were building a grocery store, I would want that store to the left because 287 is priceless.
Traffic, yeah.
The exposure you get there, and that's where I'd want my sign as a grocery store, and I'd move these two lots over there. Does that ever come into the dialogue when staff is interfacing with them?
So no, not really. It's, so on this one here, I mean, depending on the end user that he gets, he may come back in next week and vacate all of the internal lot lines. He may come back and move lots around,
Okay.
depending on his end user.
Yeah.
And so right now, nothing has been shared with staff, who those end users may even be. And
Oh,
nor,
God.
we will have pre-application meeting requirements with these end lot users. Terry takes minutes, provides notes on where you need to go and look for this. We have, a great team that comes together to give advice. But in the end, somebody may decide to buy the whole gosh darn thing from him and want to redo everything, and then they get to come back to you all again.
It's interesting because when I read the packet, I really did get the feeling that for some reason we were rushing this because there's all those loose ends. And I knew who it was, probably that was rushing it. And then I kept thinking, well, does he have a lot of these lots sold? And is this the reason, which is why I asked that
Yeah.
question.
Yeah,
You know?
that's why I was asking about this.
Well, but all the residential is part of this, and that's just about sold out.
Yeah.
That was phase one, and
Right.
this is the final for this particular
But
development.
Karen had a good question, how many got sold? He said 2 and a few more maybe on the hook depending on tonight.
But what does that have to do with us?
No, that's probably why he's trying to rush it. That's the
That's
only
what,
reason.
that's
why.
why I asked. the
Because he
question,
has
I
them
felt
sold?
like-
Yeah.
Oh,
Or he's got a couple of people on the hook for the other ones, and depending on the outcome of tonight. he
I think
might
it
have them
was
sold tonight.
essential for him to get the approval today because he probably has a few ready to sign. So yeah.
And remember.
And this is what we need to do. We need to help the town. I mean, growing the right
Yep.
way. And in the meantime, we have to listen to what the people are saying. So
well, that's an incredible, I mean, that's the first impression you get of our town. That is driving
Yeah,
into our
yeah.
town. So
Yes, it is.
the look and feel of that actually, it says something about us,
And
so
that's
it's
why I want the
important.
seed mix, that's why we're doing this heavy scrutiny on the signage, all of that. And then just remember, so in the state of Colorado, you cannot sell land that is under 35 acres, and then you can't have like a 60-acre parcel and you take 35 acres out and you leave 25 behind. You cannot do that unless you go through a subdivision process. It's illegal.
That's
and
why
so-
everything's 35 acres all over the place.
Yeah.
Yes. So you
always see
He-
those signs, 35 acres, yeah.
So anybody that would have a subdivision and they're wanting to have a contract for sale, there is nothing that can legally be sold until the plat is recorded.
Mhm.
And that's also a good thing that the town has to leverage because there's incentive to get all your conditions of approval met before we're even gonna record this plat. Because after that plat is recorded, after that development agreement is done, there aren't a lot of triggering points where the town has leverage to require things. And so that's why, before the pre-construction meeting, nope, you've not done that, we're not meeting. Before substantial completion, nope, you've not done that, no, you don't get to do that. And so those really are our triggering events, and we don't like to put triggering events for performance in residential development because you're holding back a potential family or a homeowner. We want the ownership of the commitment to be on the developer. We don't want to penalize a homeowner. A lot of times some old development agreements say, before a certificate of occupancy, you have to do X, Y, and Z. The developer is gone. They have sold those lots to a builder. The builder has absolutely no idea that there is a commitment. We need to hold the developer responsible, not the homeowner responsible.
Did you say it's not, you can't, not less than 35? So you can do more, you can sell more than 35?
Oh, yeah, you can sell more than 35.
Okay.
35 is the minimum. So let's say you have an 80-acre
Right.
parcel. You could do two
Two.
40s.
Yes,
Or you could do a 35 and a 55. You just can't,
exactly.
when you divide off a 35, walk on down to Office Depot, buy yourself a deed and do it yourself. You just can't divide off and leave behind less than 35 acres because that act of subdivision then is illegal. And in Weld County, they just canceled their 80-acre, they went to 35s.
Okay.
But in Weld County, it used to be 80 acres. They recognized 35 as legal, but 80 was the minimum buildable size. So go make 35s all you want to, but if you want a building permit, nope. So, but they just changed as well.
Thank you. Commissioners, Nick, do you have any reports?
No.
Otherwise, all right, we're out of here.
Motion to
Motion to adjourn. I adjourn the meeting at 9 o'clock.
See you all on
There
Saturday.
you go, Go for it, yay.
Sure you don't wanna ride?
I'm good, thank you.
Those are my fingers.
I need some fresh air after that.
Nice job, Abigail.
Thank you.
Yeah.